Hi, I'm your host, Noah Sweet, and welcome to the Sweet Space Podcast, Episode 2. Here we talk about whatever random nonsense myself and my guests feel like talking about at any given moment, every Wednesday. Please remember that the first 13 episodes of this season, re-uploaded from prior episodes, range from a couple months old to a year and a half old, which means a disclaimer is necessary that not all opinions expressed reflect the current opinions of myself or my guests at time of re-upload. For this episode, my guest, Vexed, has stated to me personally that his opinions have changed since the initial recording in late 2024. Thank you, and enjoy the show. See you next week. Welcome, everyone, to the Sweet Space Podcast, the first ever episode, with my boy, You've Been Vexed.
What's up, guys? Hey.
Today, we're going to be talking about some really not good adaptations.
And also, I might add a little, I might also talk about another thing.
Another thing, yes. That's also what we're going to do.
Should we just go in order of the shit we watched? So, over the past 2 years now, I want to say? A past year.
I would say it's more like year. In some extra space.
March 2023, you gotta remember that, March of 2023.
Wait, is that when we watched Netflix Mob? That long
it's
ago?
Been over a year and a half, yeah.
Dude. That's mind-boggling to me.
Like, you wouldn't think it.
You really wouldn't. Time just flies, but yeah.
To be fair, like in between, you gotta remember, we watched Mob Psycho 100, then we watched Hell of a Boss in December of 2023, then we watched Kaguya-sama recently.
That was in August.
That was in August, and then we watched Les Mis in October.
Yeah, it was earlier this month. So, oh boy, there's a lot to talk about here in terms of like the adaptations. We're mainly focusing on Netflix Mob, Kaguya-sama, and Les Mis, but I actually don't know if Vex remembers anything of the Kaguya-sama movie, which I hope he doesn't. I really hope not. Like, it's for his own good.
I actually don't know anything. I rewatched the recording.
You did?
No memory. I did, and I have no memory.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Even rewatching it.
It's like in one ear and out the other.
It was like, okay, I will talk about it more when we get to Kaguya-sama.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Mob Psycho 100 because I think
that's the best
one.
That's the original.
This is the funniest one we watched. I want to say that. I actually remember a lot from this series.
Here's the thing. Okay, this is not a very good show by any means. I think I'm like doing it too much by even saying that and not being harsh enough. I don't think the Netflix live-action adaptation of Mob Psycho, I don't actually know if it was Netflix that made it. TV Tokyo made it. Netflix distributed it. Whatever. I still blame Netflix for putting that on and not the real show, because that is mind-boggling to me. But regardless, yeah, it's not a very good show. It's worse than that. I dare say it's a very bad show. It's certainly much worse than the source material by any means.
Oh, I actually am wrong. I just looked at the Wikipedia. I said before the podcast there was no director credited. I am objectively wrong.
Okay.
Koichi Sakamoto. All right. And he is.
I'll write that name down in the Death Note.
He is best known for his work in the Power Rangers. That, holy shit.
I need to talk to Kev about this.
So much sense.
I need to talk to Kev about this. He would know about this. I should have him on for an episode, but regardless, dear God.
He did a lot for. Yeah, he did something for Gunblade. I don't know. He directed the Mob Psycho 100 remake. And he is still working today. He's a prolific worker. He's working on Wingman, it is a Japanese series that released recently. Yeah, television dramas. He also wrote Power Rangers in Space.
All right. Yeah. How do I set the stage for this? So, my friend Kai, or Calyx, gets me into this anime called Mob Psycho around late 2022, like right on the tail end, like December of 2022, into early 2023. And I'm hooked on this anime. It's got lovable characters, some really gorgeous animation. It's free of a lot of anime bullshit tropes that I really hate. And a lot of just other great things, like super emotional storytelling. And I mean, I could go into a lot of detail, but I mean, if you want to know how good that anime is, you can watch Totally Not Mark's videos, or you can watch Mother's Basement's like big hour-long breakdown. Tons of great videos going over it, or you can just watch it, which I recommend. Or you can read the manga, I suppose. I would wager the anime is like a little bit better in terms of like art quality, but of course the art in the manga isn't really bad. I mean, it's not drawn super detailed, but it's still like framed really well. So, with that being said, you got a fantastic series here. So, trying to see if I can watch it more easily on something like Netflix. Although I try to go out of my way to not use that anymore anyway, but back then, I wanted to see if there was an easy way to get it on Netflix. Eventually, Calyx just ended up sending me the entire thing through Google Drive, so it was fine. But I go on Netflix, I see that there is Mob Psycho on Netflix, but it is a live-action adaptation, and I know this is like a prolific thing for anime. Like, there have been some big stinkers, like Death Note 2017, I believe. There was Cowboy Bebop, I think 3 years ago now. And then just last year, like literally about a year ago, One Piece, which was actually really good. Like, I liked that. I liked that series a lot. But that's like the sole exception I can think of for like when one of these things was even remotely done well. And so later that year, not much later, in March 2023, I decided, I need to see this for myself. I need to see the absolute hell that has been created by this live-action adaptation of Mob Psycho 100. I need, because this is like one of the most emotionally impactful stories for me. Like the original means so much to me, and I'm just like, I have to see. I can't go to bed at night every single day not knowing what they have done to my baby. So I decided, and I knew I couldn't do it alone, so I decided to go and call up Vex, and I was like, I need your help. We must suffer this together. And he knows nothing about the original story.
I know jack shit. I'm not an anime fan, really. Like, okay, that's not entirely true. Not entirely.
I'm like an anime fan, but I'm not an anime fan, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, there's a difference. What I'm going to say is, for me, I've watched all of Death Note. I don't remember it very well. I've watched all of Beastars, which I don't remember very well, and I own the Attack on Titan and JoJo manga. I have not finished either. No, I did finish the first volume of Attack on Titan, which was really good, by the way. That first volume, but again, that was just an intro, so I'm not saying that as like a general
Attack on Titan. Good, insanely hot take. We're really riling the people up today on this podcast.
You know, I've watched Euphoria all the way through.
That is not an anime, though.
That is an anime. Look it
up. Not the Sam Levinson one. Different one.
No, it was before.
Okay, there's a different show called Euphoria. I think I remember you saying this. Yeah.
So and I wanted to watch it, but I don't think we could watch it. Because it's the most disturbing thing I think I've seen from an anime.
From what you've told me, I don't want to watch it. Like, not even in the morbid curiosity way, because Netflix Mob was very much morbid curiosity, where I was like, how can they screw this up? From what you tell me about, like, Euphoria, I did the wrong PH-TH sound, but from what you've told me about Euphoria, I genuinely just don't want to watch that ever. Like, for any reason.
It's bad. It is okay. I can't say too much about it with that. Okay, I'm not gonna try.
Yeah. So with that being said, we've set the groundwork for this. So Vex and I get into a call. We watch through the entire thing. I'd seen only the first episode. Before that, like I had seen the first episode of the live action on my own, and this was when I was still using Twitter, so I made like an active Twitter thread just cataloging how bad it was just while I was watching. I was literally like hate subtweeting the entire thing. It was horrid. And I know that sounds like a really petty thing to do, and I will admit it was extremely petty. But after that, I decided there's no way I can sustain this model going forward. I would go insane trying to watch this entire thing by myself. So, called up Vex.
Epic
We hopped
ass
on.
foreshadowing.
It's true. Called up Vex. We hopped on. It was kind of like that post-credit scene from Morbius where like the Vulture shows up and says we need to form a team. I showed up to Vex, and that was what I was like. And then we went on Discord. We watched the entire thing. I don't think one sitting. It was like maybe 2 or 3, but
No, we did it. We split it in 2.
yeah, 2.
I remember this because I think it was the day of the second day. Lance Reddick died.
Yeah, that's actually a wild thing. Lance Reddick died
Midway
midway through when we were watching this.
I remember we were watching, and it's like, oh shit, Lance Reddick died.
Yeah,
I
actively.
love Lance Reddick too, and that really sucked.
Yeah, that sucked. Like the last, and I mean, I watched the Percy Jackson live action show like right at the beginning of this year. And that was like maybe one of the last things he's ever been in, and he was so good in it.
I think that was like,
and it made me sad.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it's a sad day, man. I miss the dude.
Yeah, it sucks. Like, it's kind of funny in a vacuum that a celebrity died like midway through when we were watching this.
That's not
but
what
like
makes it funny. I think
outside the vacuum, it's just genuinely sad. Like the good was a great actor.
Another coincidence. There's a coincidence we'll talk about in the next section, but
and just a great person.
That's what. You know, rest in peace, Lance Reddick. This goes out.
Yeah, rest in peace. This episode is dedicated to Lance Reddick.
I hope Ballerina. I hope Ballerina's good with Ana de Armas.
And also, well, actually, we'll get into this later. We'll get into this later.
This is like a minor point. My piece on this before you go on a rant real quick. I do want to talk about my perspective as somebody who knows nothing about this series.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this series is really, really funny. And everything I've seen, all like the behind the scenes photos, everything I've seen, it looks like they had a fun time making it. But I will say that this is a very amateur production. Can I read to you on IMDb the storyline section? You know, plot summary. This is according to Asian Wiki. I don't know what that is. So
I assume it's a wiki based in Asia.
Shigeo Kagayama is in the second grade of middle school. He is introspective and seemingly an unremarkable boy. He isn't good at school or sports. Shigeo Kagayama likes his childhood friend Tsubomi Takane, but she likes athletic guys. Shigeo Kagayama has a supernatural power, but he wants to have an ordinary life and not rely on his psychic abilities. He works part-time at Arataka Reagan's Spirits Agency, making 300 yen an hour. He enters a boy improvement club to make Tsubomi like him, but people with strange supernatural powers appear.
I think you mean Body Improvement Club? That might have been a misread. Or maybe it's a typo. Yeah.
Also 300, you're making $2 an hour.
Yeah, no, that's canon to all versions of the story, I should say.
Okay.
He is being horribly underpaid. He should absolutely be overthrowing Reagan in a communist revolution, but moving on from that point.
I think that this series is one of the most interesting we've watched because it is remarkably horrible. But at the same time, if you just shut your brain off, it's a lot of fun. I think this is something I will say about the other 2 adaptations that didn't really cross over. This series keeps a lot of fun, and it is not like lighthearted. It is just straight up fun. Like, it's terrible, but it is. I would much rather watch Mob Psycho 100, the live action series, than I would probably any of these other. Mainly just because
I agree with that. To be honest with you,
because it's. I mean, a message to you filmmakers: if you're making a bad film, make it funny bad.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I think you could make an argument for like Les Mis being like more technically proficient than Netflix Mob, but I don't think you'd have as fun of a time watching that as you would Netflix
It's a
mob.
miserable fucking time. It is a
Yeah,
miserable
the title is
watch.
very accurate. Like,
I know.
And I watched it before I watched the original like play it was based on, or at least the concert version.
The original concert.
I didn't even know why it was
yeah.
supposed to be bad. I just knew it was intrinsically bad.
It's insane. Well, I want to talk more about that when we get.
We should probably specify we're talking about the 2012 movie, the Tom Hooper movie.
There's plenty of movies, but there's only one based off of the musical. And I'll talk more about. I'll go on a whole rant about it when we get to.
Yeah, we're getting to that point.
You're skipping ahead.
We're back on Mob Psycho. So Vex's perspective comes from someone who has not seen the original story. I think, in my personal opinion, you're more likely to enjoy this if you go in completely blind, knowing nothing about the manga, nothing about the anime. If you assume this is its own thing, like completely standalone, you could have a lot more fun with this show. I found myself actively frustrated because I know what the story is and how the characters are in the anime, which I watched before. And I can see how they completely failed to capture that in the live-action adaptation. And it made me, like, actively frustrated to continue watching it. If this hadn't claimed to be Mob Psycho, if this had claimed to be some other show, I would have called it, like, I still would have called it a Mob Psycho ripoff because it does have a lot of similarities and the characters' names are, like, the same. But I would have at least said it's not trying to claim to be Mob Psycho. Because it really doesn't feel like Mob Psycho 100 in any, like, tangible way. Like, it's a terrible show, don't get me wrong. Like, we're all in agreement on that. But it's still a fun, like, it could be a fun show on its own if it didn't have to live up to being an adaptation of one of the greatest anime of all time, probably. I don't have a very big sample size, to be making that comparison, but it is a masterpiece. So, if you hold that against it, it just completely crumbles.
Go watch Perfect Blue. Sorry. I'll shill that movie. If we're talking anime, I'm shilling that movie whenever I get the chance. That movie's fantastic.
Yeah, anyway, I'll put it on my watch list. There are, like, a few main points I kind of want to go over as to why I feel Netflix Mob was so, like, bad at capturing, like, the essence of the anime and the manga. Like, it's hard to really, like, explain everything because there's so many moving factors involved, but there's, like, a few key points. Like, first of all, the anime very much restructures a lot of the story in the same way that, like, Les Mis 2012 does. We'll get to that later. It restructures so much of the story for reasons for reasons I assume are to make it seem more conventional in terms of storytelling, but that also destroys, like, a lot of the thematic value of what's going on and cuts away time that we could spend really lingering on the characters. Like, for example, in the anime, there's an organization named Claw, right? I assume you remember this from the live action, because they're also in this.
Yeah.
They're the guys who go around just, like, trying to do bad shit, and you get, like, a bunch of scenes cutting to them in the live action. And they have, like, well, they don't actually have a facility in the live action. They do all their bad stuff at a school that they eventually hijack.
No. Wait, hold on. No. What happened? I'm remembering this. They do have a lab.
Yeah, but they don't. It's not the setting of the finale. It's not the setting of the finale. Yeah, it is in the anime.
That's it. Okay.
That's what I mean. So these Claw guys, essentially what they are in the original story is they are this group of psychics, this group of espers who have assembled under the leadership of one esper, Toichiro Suzuki, and their express goal is simply to take over the world. And there's like a whole point made in the finale of season 1 about how the reason they're doing this is because they feel very, like, disconnected and isolated from society, and they've fallen into the trap of, like, just believing society is full of, like, NPCs and shit like that, and that they are the main characters.
Fair, they are right. They are right.
When you look at society, sometimes I see things their way, but they are still wrong in the sense that, like, it doesn't give them, they're not entitled to like lead society. They're not the main characters. And really, when it comes down to it, like Reagan points out in like the finale of season 1 of the anime, that they're basically just cosplayers. They don't actually have a long-term plan for how they want to take over and reshape society. They're just doing it out of hatred for everyone. And he kind of just like takes the piss out of them at the end. And that's why they're there. They're thematic. They exist to represent an idea of like the misanthropic kind of like edgelord who thinks, oh, society fucking sucks so bad. I'm the main character. I'm gonna rise up, get my revenge on everyone, and I don't have a plan for really how to do anything or make anything better, or really, I don't really care about anyone. I just want to make myself feel better because I feel like society has wronged me in specific, instead of looking like at like any like wider injustice. And the whole point is like they're so caught up in this whole thing of like, we're the main characters, we gotta take over and show them what we're made of, that they're beefing with like literal children to get like psychics into their organization as child soldiers. And it's just more than anything, they're meant to be pathetic. So
Is this what the Jonkler movie was telling us about?
So in terms of like,
Oh,
so
shit, I'm
in
not
essence,
recording on Audacity. Oopsies.
oh, that's okay. I don't think anything will go wrong with OBS, but regardless, what I want to say about like what Claw means for the story is, in essence, they're there to be like the representation of that idea that I explained, and they're there to contrast against like the kind-heartedness of like characters like Mob, characters like Reagan to an extent. I mean, he's got flaws. Teruki after he has his arc. And I mean, Ritsu, although Ritsu kind of has his like villain arc around this time, semi-villain arc, it's not really like in the anime and in the live action, he kind of like falls into the ideals of Claw. It's fumbled a lot more in the not in the anime, the live action.
I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm not saying that they didn't try to do this. I genuinely do not believe he actually fell into Claw's hands in.
Well, no, I don't believe anything in the live action because it was fumbled so bad. But in the anime, he has like this whole arc about like he kind of feels some resentment at the world, and he's getting pulled in by these people, and it's up to Mob to save them. And Claw does not come in until he's going through his villain arc. Like, until he's at the tail end of it. He first starts collaborating with that, like, corrupt student council president guy. His name is Kamuro. And then when that comes to a head...
in the series?
I don't remember if he was in the live action. I genuinely couldn't tell you. But regardless, once that's kind of come to a head, you have Ritsu kind of, like, his downfall, or his semi-downfall, like he's kind of going into like this toxic ideology that he needs to be pulled out of. You have him in that situation. There's a confrontation between him and Teruki, and then there's a confrontation between him and Mob, and they try to work things out. That is when Claw shows up to sink their hands into Ritsu. And let me tell you this, in the anime, we have no fucking clue. We have no fucking clue who Claw is before this. Because they're not like... You don't need them for the story to happen until they're actually necessary. Like, until they're necessary for Ritsu's arc, for the thematics, they do not need to be there. In Netflix Mob, in the live action, they're constantly shown as like this threat that's being built up, as something on the sidelines. Like, you're actually supposed to take them seriously beyond what they represent. And it just kind of cushions the impact of that. Like, it turns their existence into just like kind of generic villains, instead of villains that are actually saying anything. And one of the most bizarre, like, examples of this is when they randomly decide to... So, like, in all versions of the story, the Claws have these scars, right? And they're, like, the main fighters of Claw. They're, like, pretty powerful espers, and they're, like, the top echelon of the divisions of Claw. So, like, 7th Division is the one that we see in Season 1 of the anime, early in the manga, or in the live action. And at the leader, the top leader of the Scars is Ishiguro, in the 7th Division. Ishiguro, he does not have, like, an identity beyond being Ishiguro in the anime. he's just kind of like a villain. He's just a regular villain who also has that thematic value. For some reason, and I kind of love this because it's so funny, like, when you're watching it. For some reason, in the live action, they make it a plot twist that Ishiguro is also this random guy who sells mob takoyakis from the start of the show. Vex, you remember this, right?
I do, and I will be so honest. That was the best twist.
It's kind of funny.
Look.
No, I get it.
No, thing mainly
I absolutely think
it's a terrible twist.
Yeah, no, it's
at the same time.
It's like the Squid Game twist, but like orders of magnitude worse than that. Like, that's what I compared it to.
All right, so what I want to do during this podcast, I want to do a bit of an experiment, at least with me. What I'm going to do is I want to take a look at why they would make those changes. My question is, what made them think? I think what they were trying to do was condense it to make it fit into that series. Because I think that's a better... I don't know how the series goes, so this is just an educated guess. What I'm assuming they did was they were trying to rush through everything without properly taking the time to understand.
I agree with that. The main point I was making with the claw analysis was essentially the people who wrote the live action don't seem to understand like the actual value of their inclusion in the anime and why they are introduced and why they are used in the way that they are. Like, it seems, I would say it's either a lack of respect for the seriousness of the source material, because they've kind of made it all meaningless and just kind of like generic like villain stuff, or if it's not a lack of respect, like, I don't want to assume ill intention on anyone, I assume it could also be a rushing thing. And I'm not sure what exactly you're implying by suggesting they rushed it. The anime does not like have more episodes than the live action. They have the exact same amount of episodes with the same run times, so they were not condensing. But also, they did not have to condense anything. I want to make that clear.
You mentioned how, or I guess I learned when we were learning just now about Mob Psycho, like the guy who directed it also directed like other things. Like Power Rangers and stuff. That's when you kind of start to realize, oh, it's a directing thing. That's the main problem I think with this is the directing is directed, and I don't know how the writing. I don't know. Maybe if you just took away the directing for just a second and looked at the script, maybe it could have been better. I don't know. I know Reiko Yoshida she goes crazy. She does a lot of good writing. Let me take a look at some of the things this woman has written.
The thing is, you don't need good writing to make an adaptation of Mob Psycho necessarily. If you're like doing a faithful one, because the writer of Mob Psycho, the manga, is one. Also the writer of One Punch Man, the original manga. One is a fantastic writer. You really don't need anything on top of that if you're like doing a faithful adaptation. Which is why the anime, I think, works so well. It was already carried by One's like amazing writing, and then they got Studio Bones to do the animation, and they obviously did a really good job on the animation. So
now you're not gonna believe me. Reiko Yoshida is a great writer. I want to shout her out.
I don't disbelieve you at all.
But can I tell you the same what she also wrote? She wrote The Cat Returns, which is fantastic, by the way. Yeah, it's I don't remember. I think it's a Ghibli film, and it's really good.
It is, right? I'm that's clicking in my head now.
Silent Voice, which is one of the only anime films I've seen.
Oh yeah,
she wrote it.
Yeah, that one people say is absolutely peak.
It is. And then Kei Kunai, I'm not disrespect to her. I don't know.
I do not doubt this person's talent as a writer.
But what I'm saying is,
I do think that if I was a talented writer and I was signed on to do this project, I would probably either kill myself or just go there for a paycheck. Which I'm assuming might be what she did.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, I think it is a problem with the director and maybe the producer. Maybe it has. It's got to be mostly
I always err on the side of blaming executives. I usually think 99% of problems with media comes down to executives. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. I genuinely think that's mostly what it is. Like, there's sometimes when you can blame the directors or the writers, like, directly, some of the actors even. I think almost all the time it is an executive problem. Like, that's my main take on, like, on poor media.
Something and also the producer is a man named Fuminori Kabayashi. I don't know who this guy is, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea. Because I looked him up just
Neither
now.
do I.
He's only produced on IMDb. He produced only 2 things, and I can't even seem to find an accurate photo of the guy. It could be an alias. It just wouldn't make sense if it was. I'm taking a look at who directed everything. I'm like on the Wikipedia page, so I'm like,
imagine dedicating your time to looking up things like this.
that's
only we could do
I'm looking at this up live. Meh. I'm looking at any avenue because the other 3 I could find things very easily. This Mob Psycho series is so underground that I can find barely anything. Moro Maruka, the takoyaki restaurant owner, is only credited for 1 episode. The first episode.
That is wild. He's not even just in the first episode, though. Like, he's clearly in.
That's what I'm telling you. Whoever made this did not give a shit about the IMDb page.
That is hilarious.
Really strange. Because I want you to guess. I want you to guess the top-rated episode. How much do you think? How many stars out of 10?
I think maybe somewhere in the range of like 6. That seems feasible.
7.4.
Okay. Damn. That's too much glaze for me. I don't actually think there's a single episode that goes beyond bad for me. Like,
no, it's terrible. But I think this also. I'm going to talk a bit more about it at the Kaguya-sama one.
Oh god,
I'm not the biggest fan of live-action Japanese movies, and that may sound terrible. I just don't. Something about it makes me really uncomfortable. It's not even like a problem with Japanese media because some of my favorite. I love Japanese media. Perfect Blue for it. Like I thought you said.
I thought you said it was something about like how things are like filmed and cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah, the way they film it, it's very stylized and over exaggerative, and that really puts me off. It works in anime because it fits with the cartoony visuals.
Yeah, however, and I mean, there's a reason why they had to tone that stuff down for One Piece live action, which is like the one well-known anime adaptation that is credited with like actually being like really good and like adding something meaningful to the source material. Do you know how much they had to tone down? They especially toned down Sanji's like horny on mainness, like to an extreme degree, and I mean, I'm glad about that.
I've never watched One Piece.
I've watched the live action. I'm currently reading the manga because my friend Lobato said the anime has extreme pacing issues compared to the manga because of like how it was like made. So I prefer to read the manga. It's pretty good. I've read up to most of the way through East Blue, which is like the first main like part of it. And I finished the Arlong Park arc. I still have one more arc in East Blue to finish, but that's regardless. My One Piece reading adventure is kind of like a side thing.
Sorry.
It's just sometimes relevant to bring up the adaptation because it's like the one time where like most people agree that the adaptation of an anime in live action actually worked. And I'm comparing and contrasting it. Like, you kind of have to change some of, like, the mannerisms from anime to make it palatable in live action. If you keep the core of, like... The thing about Mob Psycho, I argue that they tried to keep a lot of the mannerisms, but it kind of fell flat anyway, because, number one, they don't work as well in live action, and number two, they completely missed the opportunity of keeping the actual soul of the series, which was also important on top of the anime-isms. So, like...
What the fuck? Okay, I want to quickly, before we... going back a bit, I want to apologize to Akira Kurosawa. I did not mean to disrespect your game like that. I think it's mostly the adaptations of anime that pissed me off, not exactly Japanese media entirely. Because there's some Japanese films, like live action ones, that I love. One of them being Seven
One of
Samurai
the
by Akira Kurosawa. I want to point out Akira Kurosawa.
That's a massive plot twist.
In 1990, he was named Asian of the Century.
That is crazy. Shout out, I guess.
Shout out Akira Kurosawa.
Yeah, shout out for real.
This podcast episode is dedicated to filmmaking legend Akira Kurosawa.
In addition to Lance Reddick.
Mahatma Gandhi was also declared Asian of the Century.
Imagine being a fucking like a director, and you're on the same level as Mahatma Gandhi, according to like the Asians of the Century leaderboard.
Okay, no, the big five Asians of the century are
This
Deng
is an
Xiaoping,
interesting tangent. Deng Xiaoping. That was the guy who reformed after Mao. That's it. That's an interesting one. He's quite controversial. He's like hated by like everyone
Morita,
in the political spectrum.
Charles K. Kao, and Mahatma Gandhi and Akira Kurosawa. Also, some runners-up were Bruce Lee.
Okay,
Mao
Bruce Lee makes
Zedong.
sense. Mao Zedong. Okay.
Mother Teresa.
I love Mother Teresa's Asian?
I guess so. Or maybe she was just so cool that they... Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No, oh, yeah, she's Turkish.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And she died in India. Oh, she's Indian and Albanian.
Okay, well that explains it.
Shout out to Mother Teresa.
I just I don't know about that one.
Shout out to all the Asians of the centuries. This
famously
podcast is
uncontroversial
dedicated to
figures: Deng Xiaoping, Mao Zedong, Mother Teresa,
Bruce Lee.
No one's more controversial.
Oh, no.
Muhammad Ali.
Not the Muhammad Ali I was thinking of. It's a different Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, those
Muhammad
are common
Ali
names in the Middle East and the MENA region, I would assume.
You can tell I'm American because the only Muhammad Ali I know is boxer.
Yeah. So that's an interesting tangent. I guess a few more points I want to go over. I've already kind of explained how, like, with the claw thing, there doesn't seem to be, like, a capturing of, like, the thematic value of things. Like, they really don't understand why things were the way they were in the original story while changing things up. And I guess another big example of that is they cut out a lot of valuable scenes for reasons I don't really understand. Like, in the first episode of the anime, there's like the initial part where like Mob exercises that spirit, and there's like some of the stuff at his school, like just introducing like his general life. And then in the anime, there's like a whole sequence of them going to a tunnel. Like Reagan takes Mob to a tunnel, and they exercised as kind of like this biker spirit. But of course, Mob feels pity for the spirit because of the backstory, and Mob and Reagan kind of have this emotional conversation. This one's kind of hazy in my memory because it's been a while since I've watched it, but this was like an emotionally resonant, like relevant conversation. And that entire sequence in the tunnel was cut from the first episode of the live action so that they could immediately get to the events of the second episode of the original story, which was like the, you remember the fucking, when he was talking to Tomei Kawata, of the Alien Club, the Telepathy Club, right? The Telepathy Club, and they had to get a member, and they were trying to like get Mob into the club, and then he ended up gravitating towards the Body Improvement Club. They call it the Body Building Club in the live action, but whatever. So you remember that. That happens in episode 2 of the original story. And that's cut into episode 1 because they removed the whole tunnel sequence, even though that adds very relevant context to the dynamic between Mob and Reagan, which in general just feels so undercooked in the live action. Like, one of the main things I love about the live action, don't get me wrong, I think Reagan's actor is phenomenal in the live action. I think he brings like an energy that truly like kind of carries the show in a sense. Like, he's just a chaotic gremlin in every sense of the word, and he does accurately represent like some of the character's mannerisms. But again, I feel like the whole dynamic between him and Mob is just so undercooked in the live action. Like, they have pieces of his philosophy about how, like, having psychic powers isn't really any different from having, like, some other advantage. If, like, say you're really good at sports, say you're, like, really intelligent and you're good at, like, getting grades on a test, he views that as no different from having an advantage through psychic powers. So a psychic can't claim to be any better than a non-psychic. And because Mob's grown up with that ideology, he simply does not use his psychic powers to get ahead in life. He only ever tries to improve the things that like he improves his physical health, like his actual muscles. That's why he joins the Body Improvement Club. And that's kind of why, like, his philosophy with Regan is relevant, because the whole point of him joining the Body Improvement Club, it's not just for gags, although it is really funny. It's not just for the funny. He joins because there's a relevant character reason for it. He doesn't want to get ahead with his psychic powers. He wants to develop himself as a person. So he joins the Body Improvement Club because he wants to exercise. He wants the, I assume, the mental health benefits of exercise. He also wants to actually improve his muscles. He doesn't just want to do it to impress, like, other people around him, either. He genuinely wants to be better and, like, improve his life. And that's, like, the main, like, tenet of his character. And that just isn't captured. Like, you have the superficial aspects of it. There's, like, certainly a layout of, like, oh, he does these things that he did in the original story, but it's not, but, like, the actual reasoning, the actual meaning behind it is never captured in any of those cases. His association with the Telepathy Club, with Tomei, I mean, it's there. It's definitely present, but, like, you don't get the same, there's no, like, emotional weight to anything, is kind of, like, my main point. Like, when you have Taruki show up, he has a lot of emotional weight behind him in the anime. I guess they, like, kind of, like, surface level capture that in the live action. It just doesn't feel the same, and that's in large part due to the live actionification of it, just kind of an inherent problem. The fight is just very goofy in live action. Same with the Dimple fight.
I do much appreciate the fight. The reason I do appreciate it a lot more than some other fight scenes we'll get to, but the reason I appreciate it is because once I learned, because we just learned today, the guy directed Power Rangers. It feels like an episode of Power Rangers. Every single episode of the show.
Absolutely.
It feels like this they turned Mob Psycho 100 into Power Rangers. And as fun as that would be, I understand Posse might not agree with me.
It is kind of fun. I understand where you're coming from. Also, that's not how you pronounce it. It's Posey or Posey. Actually, it's the second one.
All right, I got it.
Oh my god. Fuck you.
Love you, baby. Don't worry about that. Anyway, you were saying?
No, you had a point. You were going to say something.
What?
You were saying.
Oh, no,
I might not agree with you, but here's.
You might not agree with me, but that's what it makes for a fun viewing experience for me.
No, I agree that in a vacuum, it is a fun viewing experience. It's hard to get behind. It's hard to get by the fact that, like, so much of the emotional value behind everything is completely butchered, though. That's the main thing for me. Like, if this was its own thing, if I could just watch it without holding it to, like, the original story it's based on in my mind, then yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see where you're coming from. Yeah. But it's really hard, like, it exists with the context of the original story weighing on it, kind of like being held over it. And there's no way to really escape that unless you've never seen it. Which is why I think your perspective is so valuable on this, someone who just hasn't watched it whatsoever, and only came in to see the live action. I would be interested to see what you would think of the anime now, if you get around to watching that after the live action, and, like, see how much better it kind of handles everything from an emotional point of view. And it's certainly not, like, it is also a fun time on top of that. Like, it's got a lot of, like, great gags. The comedy in Mob Psycho is top-notch, even outside the live-action version. The live-action version is just kind of, like, it looks goofy, so it's really funny, and that's respectable on its own. Mob Psycho, though, like the original anime, it's just really funny as well. One more thing I kind of want to touch on is, like, the character of Mob himself is like
Oh,
kind
he's
of like
horrible.
misrepresented in this. Well, kind of is a very generous statement.
That's
He is
very generous.
badly
Because everything
misrepresented in
you've told
this.
me, oh my god, they butchered your
They
man's.
No, they did. They butchered Shigeo Kageyama. The main thing about Shigeo Kageyama or Mob in the original story is that yes, he does have like these specific like teenage boy kind of like motivations. Like yes, like you went over the whole description about how he has a crush on Tsubomi Takane. Yes, that's a thing in the original anime. It's quite a big thing. It motivates a lot of his actions. However, he is normal about it in the anime. And it's not like his sole motivating factor for everything he does. You get the sense in the live action that he does not give a shit about anything that is not this girl he's going after, like, and trying to date. Like, they make that so much of his personality. And yes, it is a key thing in the original story. But in the anime, you get the sense that yes, although he does want to date this girl that he likes, who's been his childhood friend, it makes sense. Like, yeah, he does want to do that, but it's not the only reason he's trying to better himself. He genuinely just wants to be better. Like, the whole, like, joining the body improvement club thing, the whole, like, not using his psychic powers to get ahead, the whole, like, trying to improve in school, make friends with, like, people like Tomei. That's all genuine on his part. It doesn't feel like he has some like plan to like win over the girl by becoming a great guy. Like he just genuinely wants to be good. And if he can like if like not Tomei, Tsubomi decides I could go on a date with this guy. If she feels like it and they end up like getting together, that's kind of just like a nice thing that would happen on the side of him improving himself. Yeah, it would kind of suck for him if like she didn't, because like he does care about her a lot. She was his childhood friend. It would kind of tear him up. But at the end of the day, it's not his entire world. He has other things. He has Ritsu. He has his family. He has Reagan, of course. There's so much more to his character, and this would already be bad, like just solely making him like motivated by like just this one girl would already be bad, and like a misrepresentation, like a massive step down from how he's portrayed in the original story. Like that would already suck. What's worse is that they make him like low-key creepy on top of that. Like, Vex, do you want to explain the sort of things he does in the show so that I don't have to? Because I really don't want to.
Which one?
The things that live action Mob does.
Oh my god, I can't even describe it. I don't want to.
I don't want to talk about it either. Like the fucking scene, like the main thing, obviously, is I hate saying this so much. This is absolutely an example of like he would not fucking do that. Like this is me being like super protective of a character because he's been so badly misrepresented. There's a scene in the live action where like for some reason Tsubomi is heavily involved in the whole claw finale. She had nothing to do with that shit in the original story. Absolutely nothing, because the story is about Ritsu, it is about Taruki to an extent, it's about Reagan, it's about Mob in that part. Like Tsubomi has nothing to do with these people. Nothing. Like, she does not have to be involved. Tomei is also there for some other fucking reason. I honestly couldn't tell you. But mainly Tsubomi is there so that they can have Mob be like almost like her hero and protector. And it's so silly because the whole point of her character is to show that Mob has kind of like this romanticized idea of how things are going to be like between them. Even though it doesn't like consume his life, he does like have this like idea of like, oh, maybe she'll date me and it'll be just like absolutely fantastic. The whole point is that that's not what happens. Like, he doesn't end up getting the girl. It's not because of any fault of his own. It's not because he didn't improve himself. He did, and for many reasons, not just because of her. It's just she was not interested in him, and that is just how the cookie crumbles. And it's done so well in the original story, whereas, like, it feels like in the live action, they wanted to actually have like Mob try and prove himself as like a viable love interest for this character, even though that goes against the entire thematic point of her being there. And like they had her there in the finale so that he could be like the savior and protect her from Claw. And then it gets worse. It's like I keep going back into describing like the complete ignorance of like thematic value and emotional depth. But like this is just like plain bad for like any show to do under any context, unless it's like being expressly critiqued in narrative. There's a scene where Tsubomi is unconscious from the battle, and Mob tries to kiss her while unconscious,
I forgot.
while egged on by Dimple. You didn't? Oh, you forgot about that part?
I forgot.
Yeah, it's so bad, and they play it all. They play it all for a cheap gag because like it just results in like I think Tomei like kicking him to the side, which I'll admit was kind of funny to see, but like it's like funny in a depressing way. Like I could maybe laugh at this if you were like a deliberately like creating like an incel type character to kick like to take the piss out of. I would understand laughing at this. Like if this happened to like someone like Titan from Megamind, for example. Even though that's actually a really good portrayal of that kind of character and like genuinely terrifying at times, despite the fact that like Megamind is like a kid's animated movie. But like the way it was done, I'm like, yeah, I can see why this would be funny, but why are we making the main character who's supposed to have all this emotional weight attached to him, all this value? Why are we just making gags about him nearly like unconsensually kissing a girl and then just getting kicked into a wall because haha le funny, even though it goes against everything that this character is supposed to be, and it just feels like shock value for the sake of shock value and having like weird like comedy. I don't understand what they were thinking when they were doing this. Like, Vex, do you have any idea what it was? Like,
I wish I did.
Like, I'm not gonna accuse anyone on the actual team of like being creepy, because like it's not like they are it doesn't seem like they think it's a good thing that he almost did that. They obviously made a joke out of the fact that like Tomei kicked him into a wall over it, but it's still not the sort of thing that it's still weird to trivialize that and also make this character who's like so like far from removed from that sort of thing do that. Like it is just frankly bizarre, and I'll never understand. I'll never understand why they did it. It's like, again, they seem to do things only because they think it'll be funny or like I guess remotely kind of like surface level enjoyable. Like you could laugh at it, you could have a fun time watching it, instead of like engaging with the source material, with the original story, offering like an ounce of care as to like any emotional depth behind anything at all. I realize I've been harking on this point so much because it frustrates me like how bad they did it. Like, I understand that it is a fun show. I will not deny it. Like, if I had no context,
it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's funny bad. There's a difference.
It's fun in the way where like it's fun in the way where like Moist Critical has famously said that like Moonfall is like the ultimate fun bad movie. This is kind of like that. Like it's so like bad that you have to admire.
It's a movie you get high with friends and watch. You don't watch this shit for like any substance. Sorry if I go quiet randomly. I just got my cat today. I feel like I told you, but I'm telling the podcast.
Of course.
I just got a cat today, and currently she's a little scared, but she's adorable. Guys, can we get a shout out to Jessie?
I agree. Is that the name of your cat?
Yeah, it's the name of the cat.
Jessie, we need to sell Murph.
I think there was a cat named Walter at the shelter too.
That is incredible. You should have got a package deal with them.
I didn't have the money at that point.
No. Guys, can we donate money to Vex? This is actually the ultimate like way to raise money. We need to like donate money to Vex specifically so he can buy the Walter cat and like have Walter and Jessie as cats. I think that's a noble goal worth donating to.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of like. Oh, one more thing I want to touch on with Mob Psycho. This is more of like a superficial complaint. a couple more things. The CGI is horrible, but that also kind of like enhances the fun experience somewhat. Like the dimple fight is like
It
genuinely
looks
hilarious
horrible.
because of how bad it looks. Like it's like 2003 Hulk tier, except actually worse than that, I think. Like
No, it is. No, I think okay, no. In 2003, that was the best you were going to get on that budget. If your name wasn't Peter Jackson, you were not getting a movie that looked good. Remember Scooby-Doo with James Gunn?
I
That
actually
came out
haven't
around the
seen
same
those.
time.
I need to watch those because like those movies
But you know what I'm talking
are
about.
hailed
Like,
as being
have
like
you
so
seen-
funny.
Do you remember what Scooby-Doo looks like in that?
I
movie?
remember, yeah, kind of, yeah. I guess you
hold
can
on.
kind of get away with that a little bit purely because Scooby-Doo is such like a cartoony character. So like, you know how it is.
But what I'm saying is that, like, I think it's less embarrassing for Hulk to not look as good. This came out in 2018.
I am not blaming Hulk 2003. I am saying that Mob Psycho, the Netflix adaptation, the live action, in 2018 has worse CGI than that does, which is saying a lot. 15 years later.
Which
So
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But again,
and some of the spirit
I assume
effects.
they were working on a television budget in Japan. I don't think you're gonna get a lot.
Yeah, this is
done.
mainly a budgeting issue, and I guess I should say I'm upset that when adapting like such an incredible anime, they didn't allocate the funds properly or give enough funds to make the CGI even look remotely good. But then again, they don't do that even with Marvel movies here, so I don't know what gives. People just fucking hate good animation.
In the words of the great H. Bomber guy, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
For real. One more thing I want to touch on quickly before we finish up with Mob Psycho. I have made all the main points about why I feel it sucks so fucking bad as like an adaptation. I've made all those main points. The last thing I want to touch on is there is a hilarious overuse of flashbacks in that fucking show. And you know what I'm talking about, Vex. There's so many flashbacks for no reason. Like, I know anime has flashbacks, okay? Like, I'm a Demon Slayer fan, sue me. I enjoy that show. I know it has, like, tons of problems, but I enjoy it. Like, that has, like, long extended flashbacks. I read One Piece. That also has some long extended flashbacks. I'm not against flashbacks in principle. They can be a very good storytelling device. This show fucking spammed flashbacks for things that the audience would never conceivably have forgotten. Like, they would show flashbacks to things that happened, like, 2 scenes ago, or, like, in the last episode, and they're not even important, like, for the characters, or for, like, the plot. It's just, like, they show a flashback of some random guy getting like punched into a wall. that doesn't mean anything.
One of my favorite,
just to remind you that it happened.
Favorite flashback scenes is the scene where I think he's defending Ritsu in the sewers, and I kept making jokes that it looked just like this Sean scene in Heavy Rain. And if you guys don't know, look up Sean Heavy Rain, and there's a bug where so there's a scene where you're supposed to be shouting for your long lost son, Sean, like your son's been kidnapped and is being held ransom. But there's a bug in the game where you can literally get the main character to scream it over and over and over again. So just go look it up. Go look it up after you're done with this video. Put it on your watch list. I know all of you have ADHD anyway. Just put it on a watch list, or maybe
or you have autism.
In the edit of this.
You're some form of neurodivergent.
Just or maybe we could show a clip. Can we show a clip?
You can. Oh, actually, would we get copyrighted for that? That's a good question.
No. It's a fucking meme edit.
Oh. It's not the original like audio of the game?
Well, I mean it is, but with Sean!
I can always mute it in retrospect if I have to.
Show for like 5 seconds. Don't show the whole thing.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying if somehow someone decides to be like fucking draconian about it, I can mute it if I have to. Like if it's like universal tier, like copyright striking.
No, hell no. This is literally a video. I mean, it's a video game that people played.
I understand.
Like in Let's Plays.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't consider that they don't really strike video games whatsoever.
Yeah. The reason I'm letting you rant about Mob Psycho, I'm because I'm going to go ham when we get to
I can't wait to not have
choices.
to talk for an exorbitant amount of time. My throat is sore.
All right, let's talk about Les Mis. All right,
All
let's
right.
set the stage here. Now in 1800s, there is this guy named, I'm going all the way back, named a guy named Victor Hugo.
We're doing the ancient
Maybe
lore.
or Victor Marie Hugo. Maybe you guys know him. You know, he wasn't really anybody. He only wrote some of the best French novels ever. So in 1862, he releases I wouldn't call it his magnum opus. I don't know what that would be because I don't know much about Victor Hugo, but it's definitely a historical epic as described by its Wikipedia page. It was first published in 1862, one of the greatest novels of the 19th century, and I've not read it. So it's like 1,500 pages or something like that. It's crazy. It's a long read, and it's apparently all depressing. So in the 1970s, they were working on a concept album based off of it was a concept album in France in 1980 that eventually became a musical, and that's what it started out was a concept album and brought it to live action. Well, in 1983, about 6 months out, I'm just reading off the Wikipedia page, after producer Sir Cameron Mackintosh, opened Cats, he received a copy of the French concept album.
Don't tell H Bomber Guy, you're just reading Wikipedia.
Oh no, he's coming to purge my channel. Oh no.
We're gonna get James Somerton.
No! But basically...
Quick, release 2 manipulative apologies.
Twit longer.
True.
Twit longer apology. Sir Cameron Mackintosh...
At least we're saying it's the Wikipedia so that people can actually know where we're getting this from. Unlike James.
Mostly considered to be the most successful, influential, and powerful theatrical producer in the world. At least according to Wikipedia. He definitely earned it. Les Mis, Phantom of the Opera, Cats, Miss Saigon, Mary Poppins, Oliver, and Hamilton. He's not Scottish.
Wait, what?
He's British.
Oh, fuck.
He's knighted, bro. He's knighted.
Bro, I'm cooked. This is the worst mistake I have ever made. I renounce everything. My life is over. It does sound like a Scottish name, though. He probably has, like, some heritage.
Now, I think Cameron Mackintosh, I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. Now, the reason I say that is mainly I only know much about him because of Les Mis. I don't know.
His father was Scottish. Take that. Owned.
I don't. He's a billionaire. No, I don't care where he came from. He's still British.
Diversity win. The billionaire who's terrible is Scottish. Logan Roy coded.
Cameron Mackintosh had been tossing the rights to the Les Mis musical for a while. If you don't know, it is actually one of the most famous musicals ever. Since 1985, it has basically been like a luxury musical. Like if you read American Psycho, which I own the book. The book is fantastic. But if you read the book, there's a lot of mention of it as that's like what the rich people are watching. So it was a very popular series, and it's like the 6th highest grossing musical of all time. Like, it's crazy. And it's a very good musical. However, he's been tossing around the rights to the musical, and he wasn't really liking anybody until he met a young man, a young upstart, named Tom Hooper.
If you're a Cats fan, you know who this guy is. This guy has traumatized you.
Tom Hooper came up with the idea. Basically, Cameron Mackintosh wanted something new. He wanted something fresh. And Tom Hooper was like, hey, what if, hear me out, what if we sung it live? Which Cameron Mackintosh was like, sold. He just gave it. Now, if you know anything about filmmaking or singing or are a human being who understands the basics of filmmaking, that is stupid. Now, if you don't know, I'm quickly just going to say that, like, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but it's ultimately related. I'm going to use the film La La Land as an example of a very good musical. Because, oh my god, this film... Have you seen this film?
No.
La La Land is perfect. That is a perfect-ass movie.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. I'll check it out at some point.
Basically, it's about an aspiring actress and a struggling jazz pianist played by Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone who meet and fall in love.
Well, I'm sold. I earlier said I don't really care about actors. Ryan Gosling is an exception to that.
John Legend and J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons is also an exception to that.
And I just want to say Damien Chazelle has made two of my personal favorite films in recent of the decade, and then he just stopped making good films.
That's wild. But yeah.
Yeah, he made... Yeah, that's going to be a running trend. But yeah, no, Cameron McIntosh... Like, the reason that works is because, yeah, it's ADR. They're not singing on location, and you can clearly tell. It's such a musical in presentation, and I love it for that. Films that, like, some good other film adaptations is Tick, Tick, Boom. Tick, Tick, Boom, which is fantastic, by the way, uses ADR voice line, like, use ADR singing. Because even if it sounds good on location, I guess there's a difference between in a studio where people can understand what you're saying. Because a lot of, what's one of the most important parts of making a music, you gotta make sure what you're saying makes sense and you can understand it clearly. So if I'm on set, right, and like just imagine I am walking around set, and obviously there's a difference. I'm moving around and I'm going crazy. I can't really control my vocals as well. And obviously there's a difference between that and Broadway productions. But the difference is Broadway productions only have one shot. They spend months, years practicing, getting it right. And they're trained classically. And I'm not saying that, because obviously there's some Broadway actors that eventually went to the screen, like Hugh Jackman, who was theatrically trained. But it is a different experience because you get the best take in the booth and you just pretend like you're singing out on stage. It saves, it helps with your vocal cords, so you're not stretching them, you're not putting them to their limits. It's better for safety and for clarity, because if you're going, and this all is relevant, I promise, because oh my god, who thought that would be a good idea? This is like, you gotta really understand how important it is to not screw this up. This is like one of the biggest cultural phenomenons in the theatrical space. Les Mis was huge. So in 2012, they release it in December of 2012. It actually came out the day after 12/12/12. No, it came out Christmas of 2012.
What a terrible fucking Christmas present. Oh my god.
I think if somebody gave me that Christmas, gave me tickets to see this on opening day at Christmas, I would stab them in the jugular. Now, this is an all-star cast.
The one gift that Santa was never willing to deliver to anyone.
The kid of the Les Mis movie.
The kid that Santa delivered that to was going to grow up to be like Adolf Hitler 2 or something.
Do you think Santa
that's how far on the naughty list he was?
Egyptian god? Do you think he's like an Egyptian god? He just decides like who's gonna be good, who's gonna be bad. And I don't mean in terms of a good or naughty list. I mean he's delivering. You think that's why Hitler was so mad?
Maybe. Okay, this is a tangent.
I did not get mine toy.
Oh my god! It's like, this is worse than the whole like idea of him becoming a dictator because he dropped out of art school.
It's
like that's somehow even like more stupidly illogical.
It's like that one It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit where they're trying to theorize why Hitler went insane, and they thought it was because his dog died when he was a kid.
That's so funny.
But no, back to Les Mis.
Yeah, back to Les Mis.
This film, this was actually going to be a part of a bigger video I was on that I just never ended up making. Posey knows all about those videos.
This is a lore. This is a
one
lore
together.
drop. True.
What I was going to do, I was actually going to make my own video, musical to movie adaptations, and why I hate most of them. And it's true, I hate most. And obviously, I will get to watching Rent, and I will watch Cats, and I will watch Dear Evan Hansen. We're writing that down. That is happening.
Most of those are not good. I'll tell you that. From what I understand.
Chicago, which is good. But those were the films I was going to review. And I've not watched Dear Evan Hansen or Cats. I have watched Rent. Rent is a whole nother kind of bad, but we're saving that for a part 2. Les Miserables is my favorite musical. I've seen it live. I've listened to this concert, to the 10th anniversary and the 25th anniversary concerts over and over and over again. I know the story like the back of my hand, and even if I was learning new things as I was rewatching it, I think this musical, despite having some complexity, is overall a very simplistic musical to understand. I'm not talking about the movie yet, just hold on. The musical is a very simple story. I mean, it's a lot of simple stories into one story. What I love about Les Mis is it's able to intertwine all of these plots together and make it make sense. Now, obviously, the concerts we watch was speeding through it. We don't have enough time to breathe. We just are going. But the musical is very fascinating. That's just it. It's a very fascinating story. Because you have, like, a cop chasing down a criminal who's trying to redeem himself, a love story, a story about revolution, of thievery. It's so interesting, and it all ties in at the end. If you notice, this is stuff I'm kind of stealing. Let's go shout out to Sideways. Sideways was the inspiration behind even watching this.
He is our strongest soldier.
I pray for him.
He paved the way.
He showed us the light.
Absolutely.
If you actually look at now, if I don't know how much you remember from the musical, did you know that Valjean's soliloquy and Javert's soliloquy is the same song? That may sound really stupid, but basically they are representative of opposite things. Valjean is lamenting on what he has done with his life and his past, and he wants to grow and change from it. Javert's soliloquy, with the same song, the same leitmotif, is his refusal to change after learning everything he's done. Why? One of the darkest ones to me is what is it? Hold on, it's Act 2. Empty chairs and empty tables, and Valjean forgiven. Basically, they have the same leitmotif again because Valjean forgiven, Valjean arrested, ironically, is about feeling warm and invited. It's him welcoming friendly faces, while Empty Chairs and Empty Tables with the same leitmotif is about being vulnerable, alone, and with survivor's guilt. You notice this throughout the entire musical, that each character has a leitmotif that plays and can even represent certain things. Now, that is very important for the musical because it's the whole point. You're meant to be analyzing this from the perspective of, I guess, I just want to talk about how bad the movie is. I can't prattle on anymore. This movie is horrible. All right, let's talk about probably the worst thing about this.
I feel like you made your point with like the point of the leitmotifs and all that.
Yeah, let's talk about the performances. Now, there actually are a few good performances in this film. Be nice here, real quick, before I chew into this. I think Anne Hathaway and Russell Crowe are putting on a hell of an acting performance in this film. Anne Hathaway won an Oscar for this movie, and she deserves it. She was very good. Eddie Redmayne, Amanda Seyfried, both of them very vocally
I was going to say
talented,
Eddie
very
Redmayne did do a good job in that. Yeah.
And Amanda Seyfried too. Even though she's barely in the film, she did great. Samantha Barks was actually in the 25th anniversary cast. So yeah, she could do it. Sacha Baron Cohen, despite not really doing a good performance, did a pretty fun, energetic, and I don't like Sacha Baron Cohen.
Well, no, I don't like him,
reasons.
but he is definitely like a good energetic actor.
He's very funny in this movie.
Yeah.
But besides that, no one else in this film, good job at anything.
Surprisingly, not even Hugh Jackman, even though I think Hugh Jackman is a pretty good actor and is a fantastic singer.
Go watch The Greatest Showman. I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, but oh my god, the dude has some pipes.
And I will say, in fairness to Hugh Jackman, I don't think it was necessarily his fault that he stumbled through that performance. He was badly done by the producers of that movie. Like, the way they treated him is nuts.
Now, I want to say the Sideways video is not 100% correct on what occurred. They're misunderstanding that while on set, yes, he was given 8 glasses of water a day with honey. He was doing all that. What they were referring to was the workout he had to get in shape. That he dehydrated himself to lose weight for the role. And now this is just a personal thing. I don't think Valjean should like Wolverine. And I mean that in all honesty, because like one of my favorite things about the character of Valjean is, while yes, he is bulky, he isn't, this handsome, ripped dude. If you've ever seen any image of him, he is kind of not the most attractive, like, at all.
He is most definitely not, like, the, like, fucking Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine, where, like, his fucking, like, his shirt rips off and is just, like, his just, like, impeccable abs are just, like, full blast on screen. Like, that's definitely not Valjean. Let's just say that.
What I was saying in comparison, I wasn't saying that, Hugh Jackman shouldn't play the role. I just don't see him as my Valjean because he's too handsome, he's too ripped, he is too... I don't know how to describe him. He just is too much like a leading man that everyone would recognize. And I understand for some people, that's a good thing.
Can you tell that we're bisexual?
I never said... I mean, look, I'm just saying, Hugh Jackman in the first X-Men... Have you seen...
I have seen all the X-Men's, yeah. That is such a bizarre rabbit hole to go down. I recommend TSD Talks' X-Men retrospective video, even though he's never seen them before. He watched them all to make that video, and the experience of someone who has no cultural recollection of those movies, seeing them all for the first time with all those bizarre timeline like shenanigans, is just so incredibly funny. Like, Fox X-Men is so bizarre, and that's like a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah. I should go down one day.
But no, he went down the same, basically, because that's how he trained for Wolverine. He would dehydrate himself to lose weight. And I think it is solely wasted on this film. I don't think he should have done that. And yes, Anne Hathaway also had her hair cut, but I don't think that's as bad as forcing yourself to starve.
We could have, like, a whole conversation about, like, conventional beauty standards and how they're, like, very harmful for actors, but that's a different thing.
But it's not even the fact that, like, this is something I want to talk about. My biggest problem, I'm going to assume the people who are at home listening have watched the original musical. If you haven't, go watch it.
Even pause this podcast episode. I mean, you can let it run with no volume if you want. We do need the views, but seriously, go away from this, watch the concert, and come back. Not just because it's important for context. It is a phenomenal concert. Vexed showed me it, and it was wonderful.
I would recommend rather watching the 10th anniversary or the 25th anniversary, because the 25th anniversary has some of my favorite versions of those characters. Like, I think I think Alfie Boe as Valjean, he's damn good casting. I think Norm Lewis is perfect as Javert. I think Lee Salonga is perfect as she's just perfect in everything. Can we just shout out to that's my Agent of the Century.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, point made.
no,
But yeah, go watch
but
that
no, my
concert. Seriously.
go watch anything, and I'm gonna continue to
Anything
go
that isn't
here.
Les Mis 2012 or Kaguya-sama Love is War. Even watch Netflix Mob Psycho over that.
The problem with this
Sorry,
movie when it
Kaguya-sama
comes
Love is War, the live action movie. Do watch the anime.
now,
That is amazing.
I'm gonna
Don't misinterpret me.
I'm going to pick apart each section. There's different sections of the musical. It's not just an act 1, act 2. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing
So
about
I'm going
like
to pick up
what they did with like Hugh Jackman is just a precursor. It's just an appetizer to like how just fundamentally fucked this movie is. It's so
oh my
horrible.
I want to say I don't think if I legit think I wouldn't be complaining about most of this stuff if it wasn't an adaptation of the musical, because I know they added some things from the book, like they changed Andralis's and Grantair's death to the one from the book where they hold hands, when in the musical they just get shot and killed. I understand that's from the book, and also her getting her, and then I'll talk about that in a minute. So the first section is the prologue. This happens in both the musical and the movie. Now, it's a very simple thing in the musical. It's very quick, I would say. It doesn't really drag on. That's a big problem with this movie. It adds a bunch of unnecessary scenes that drag on. But I want to talk about the work song. Now, I'm gonna bring up La La Land again, because La La Land is, again, like I said, it's perfect. La La Land begins with this opening number. I'm forgetting the name. It opens with this. It basically is in a. It's traffic, but it's this it's this upbeat. Another Day of Sun is what the song is called. It's this upbeat like opening, and I think you can look at this at every single musical ever. Let's take the Heathers musical for example. That opening track. I've not watched the Heathers music. I watched it live in front of my mother, and if you guys know what happens in that music, you would understand my embarrassment. If you don't know, Posey, the song Dead Girl Walking has pretty much softcore pornography as part of the set.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's the two actors dry humping on stage. It's insane. But no, the Heathers musical has beautiful. Basically, it's just getting you to know the characters, to establish the tone. Same goes for... I've not watched Phantom of the Opera. I was thinking of Rent. Rent has a very famous beginning. Pretty much any musical, that opening song is to set the tone. Anybody have a map from Dear Evan Hansen's a good example. It sets everything up. And that's exactly what Les Mis does, but it's a bit different. While those are mostly upbeat, even in sad musicals like Dear Evan Hansen, it's a bit of an upbeat tune that, granted, is quickly subverted, but it still gets you into the mindset of these characters. The beginning of Les Mis is one of the most dreary things I think I've ever watched in a fictional media. Look Down is a dark track, and especially with the visuals of the concert, it is only made worse.
Just one look into its
Basically,
twisted heart would make most simply go insane. No, I'm joking. No, seriously though, it's fucked
it's
up.
about a prison chain. It's a prison chain gang in the 1800s being forced to work. And in the musical, you hear the other. You don't get introduced to Valjean until the scene with him. You are just meant to understand the working conditions of this place. You hear people cry out for their families, for just freedom, for any mercy, before they're shut down by the French government. Then we meet Javert and Valjean. where we see the fundamental differences between them as characters. Valjean is a criminal who wants to reform. He doesn't believe what he did was wrong, and objectively, I don't think he is wrong for what he did. But still, the cop, Javert, is there basically pushing back against him. He is the ultimate manifestation of the systems that put Valjean in prison. But it is so distracting in the movie when you can barely understand a word they're saying over the sounds of rushing water. Look up. And then I'm not even gonna talk about. I'm not even gonna fucking talk about how terrible Russell Crowe and Hugh Jackman's opening is. I stole a loaf of bread, and I'm Javert. Did I forget my name? So yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit because I'm not. You just gotta watch it for yourself just to understand how long it goes on, because it takes way too long to get to the point.
It felt so long to finish that movie. Like,
it takes
it's really hard to. It is so hard to explain this to you guys. It took it felt like we were there for days watching that movie.
To be fair, I was pausing every 5 minutes and complaining.
Yeah, but it still was like 3 to 4 hours. But it felt like literal days.
So after Valjean's soliloquy, which is terrible, we start with. Here's how the musical does it. Now they both start with "At the End of the Day," which is a great track to opening up. So basically, just for context, Valjean, he is being rejected because he's a criminal. A bishop helps him and he robs the bishop. He gets caught by the police. Valjean gets caught by the police and the bishop lies to give him a silver candle and basically tells him, hey, look, I'll let this slide if you use this silver to become a better man. Offering him some redemption. And Valjean just feels so much guilt over this that he's like, all right, I'm going to stop being Valjean. I'm going to tear up my slip. I'm going to be on the run. I'm going to become a better dude. He goes under this fake alias called Monsieur Madeleine. And then 9 years pass, I think? Something like that.
It goes from 1815 to 1823, I believe.
33, I'm pretty sure.
No, it goes from 1815 to 1823 to 1832.
Oh, shit. No, you're right. It's 1823. You're right. I'm wrong. Oopsies.
I have an autistic tendency to memorize dates and numbers. Sorry. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Now, in the musical, here's where it goes. Monsieur Madeleine barely appears in this opening scene. He's the mayor of a town at this point. Valjean is in hiding, technically, even though he's the mayor. And he wants to create a better work environment. He created a factory to try and better people. He just basically tries to help around the town. But what he doesn't notice is because he's so busy, he doesn't notice this certain scene between Fantine and one of his foremans. At the end of the day, Fantine, she's just this person in her 20s, tragic life, and she ends up getting into a few scuffles and ends up being tossed out on the street. I Dreamed a Dream begins where we learn who Fantine is. Because we only have a name and an appearance. And at this point, we don't know anything about her. But what makes this scene of I Dreamed a Dream so tragic is what comes after. Lovely Ladies is one of the most underrated tracks of this entire musical, and it is one of the darkest. Posey didn't see a lot of it because it was kind of cut down for the concert. There's a Broadway recording of it that it goes longer, and it is a horrifying song as Fantine is manipulated and groomed into becoming a prostitute. And it is so uncomfortable to watch just in general. Even though you see nothing that happens. Just let me read some of these lyrics. Lovely ladies waiting for a bite, waiting for the customers who only come at night, ready for the call, standing up or lying down or any way at all, bargain prices up against the wall. Yeah. Fastest on the street, wasn't there 3 minutes till she was back up on her feet. Doesn't take a lot of savvy just to be a whore. Come on, lady. Yeah. And yeah. Old men,
Extremely
young
dark
men, take them
song.
as they come.
Yeah.
Harbor brats and alley cats and every kind of scum. Poor men, rich men, leaders of the land. See them with trousers off. They're never quite as glam. All it takes is money in your hand. And this fucking lyric sticks with me every time I hear it. Come on, Captain, you could wear your shoes. Does it make a change to have a girl who can't refuse? Easy money lying on a bed. Just as well they never see the hate that's in your head. Don't they know they're making love to one already dead? Holy fuck. That is
Like,
dark.
it is horrifying.
Then it cuts to Fantine's arrest, which, again, it's not really said in the musical. In the book, she dies of tuberculosis, or she got tuberculosis at some point, but it's not really stated at all in the musical what caused her death. But let's just assume she, yeah. Then it cuts to her arrest, where Javert arrests her, and Valjean's like, yo. He's pretending to be the mayor, so Javert respects him and doesn't suspect him of being evil or whatever. But then a runaway cart happens, and Valjean demonstrates his strength, and Javert's like, yo, I only knew one man around your age who could do that, but he's going to prison. Sorry for any misunderstanding. And Valjean is like, oh shit, somebody is taking the fall for me. Now, this creates a very interesting moral dilemma. This is a genuine question to you, Posey, and this is a question to the audience. So you basically granted this guy who died, the bishop is dead at this point. You basically told this guy, he basically helped you, gave you food, shelter, all these riches, and he basically said, hey, I want you to become a better person. I want you to become an honest man. So you have two options here. One, you let an innocent man suffer for your crimes, or do you abandon your post and be honest and damn so many people out of a livelihood, out of anything? That is a horrifying would you rather. And in the musical, it's very clear cut.
It
Like,
kind of
oh
feels
shit.
like a variation of the trolley problem, if you think about it.
And he eventually does reveal himself to be Valjean, because ultimately, his story's got a story. But so that's how the musical does it. And then Fantine's death, whatever, blah blah blah, confrontation. What I want to talk about is how the movie does it, because it completely butchers the pacing.
Oh god. I
So
don't.
at the end of the day, apparently Valjean was actually there to witness what occurred between Fantine and the foreman, but he was too distracted. Isn't that wrong to say that maybe Valjean wasn't the best human being? Like he just didn't notice. The runaway cart then occurs for some reason, where Javert is like, "Yo, I'm in the city now," and then the cart happens, and then he just starts suspecting Valjean of being Valjean, which he is. But that's kind of a leap in logic, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But then it
Yeah.
cuts to lovely ladies. Then this is actually something I do want to talk about. I think the musical does this scene so much more justice, because I'm not saying it's important. It's in good taste, because it's a woman being groomed into prostitution. There's no good taste way to do that. However, what I want to talk about is, oh my god, how the hell did they ruin this scene? So there's a scene so in this scene they add a bit more brutality with having Fantine having her teeth ripped out, and you actually see her being raped. And I think something about that just feels so hella misogynistic. I'm not saying Les Mis is a feminist masterpiece or anything. It's a little misogynist. But what I'm saying is, oh my god, you really did not when you could just explain it away in a short dialogue.
Hot take. Rape? Kind of sexist.
Yeah, rape's kind of bad, guys. Yo, can you give a shout out to Roman Polanski?
Raping women,
Don't. I'm
it's
cutting
kind
that.
of misogynist. I have to, you have to admit when you think about it.
This is the first episode. Jesus Christ.
I
But I
can't
think
believe
what
this is where we're at. But yeah,
I want to
we're
talk
trying to
about. I
cope
want to
with
talk
the
about the
insanity
problem
of
with
how the
demonstrating.
fucking movie did this, because it was so, it felt so tasteless to me. Like,
Yeah, because here's the problem. I think what makes the scene the don't they know the American one to love already dead? You already get everything you need to know in that single line. And that's what's haunting about it. It doesn't need to show her being raped to get that across.
it's
It is
almost like,
so
I guess a comparison I could draw is like in the horror movie when you deliberately don't show the monster so that the audience has it all in their imagination. I feel like it's almost kind of the same thing. Although there's obviously a difference in that like it's a even more sensitive subject that you have to handle with more tact. So I feel like it's even more severe.
it's
Like
I
but you
I
can
think
kind of see
with
where I'm
the
coming
I
from
think the
drawing that
problem is
that
it, I
comparison,
I
right?
think I think there are ways I don't know why I'm getting into the I think there are ways you can do rape scenes in movies. Like apparently that
Yeah.
new movie. I've not seen the new movie The Apprentice.
I didn't even know that
However,
was a thing.
it's
This
a
is the first time
it's
I've heard of it.
it's an expose on Trump, released in theaters,
Oh.
and they actually show him raping his wife in that movie. I don't know what that because I know that there are ways you.
It's probably not a conversation that we would like to have. It's a very difficult one, but I guess
Yeah,
there could be ways of portraying it that aren't tasteless. But the way that Les Mis chose to do it, I
it was
I
very
will say that
inappropriate.
it was highly tasteless, and it does take away from the impact of how it's portrayed in the musical through implication.
But then we get I
It
Dreamed a
feels
Dream
gratuitous. That's the
after
thing.
that. Yeah, it feels more like they're just trying to be brutal and edgy, which turns
That is
more into a
exactly what.
fantasy.
That's exactly what it is.
I want to talk about how they basically turned Fontaine into an object in comparison to the because the musical she's a plot device. That's what she is in the musical, but she wasn't ever an object. You get the feeling she was a person because I Dreamed a Dream feels like a humanizing moment in the musical. You relate to her, she goes through tragedy, and then she dies. It's very cheap, but it is it's very quick. Not cheap, but it's very quick. And she's a character who only appears for like what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but you still feel some sort of weight because her death carries the rest of the story. However, with this explaining who she is after we see all this brutal stuff happen to her, we don't really care. It does not help that her vocal performance kind of sucks on what is meant to be a gorgeous song. If you watch it in public, whoever they get the vocalist to be to be Fontaine, if it's I forget who played her in the musical 10th anniversary, if you get Leah Salonga, if you get any I've even the one I saw it live, I can't name any of the actors who were in that, but guess what? That that actress, she could control the entire room with just her voice. This is a song you cannot screw up. This is one of the big songs, famous songs from the musical. And they screwed it up. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they screw it up? Then Fontaine's arrest, where Valjean declares he's going to save Fontaine's daughter, which is stupid because in the musical he didn't even know of her existence until confrontation. I think this is a good time to talk about how Hugh Jackman's not singing in this movie. He's kind of talking his way through every song, and then he ends up screwing up important scenes because he's not singing. Like some of the most important, like "Who Am I" is one of the most important songs of the first act. However, he is just half talking the entire time, and it completely ruins it. I want to also talk about how wrong the instrumentation of this musical is, for this movie. Now, if I don't know how much you know about musical theater, in
Not a
order to
lot.
the singers must adapt to the music. Because if a performer screws up, they cannot stop. The band they have playing, the orchestra, they can't stop. They got to keep going. Because if they stop for a performer to catch up, it ruins the song. So it's always the vocalist that is orbiting the orchestra, the music players. However, this also goes for cats, which I'm sure if we eventually talk about it, I'll show you examples. For this, what they're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. They're following the singer, and since the singer can't hear the music, they just gotta guess, which wouldn't be a problem if they just ADR'd it. I'm being so honest. Had they just recorded it beforehand, nothing would have. There wouldn't be this problem because you already have it. Hell, I don't advise this, but if you wanted to, you could record it and then do the instrumentation, the orchestration. It's embarrassing. And
anything but what they ended up doing. Anything but what they ended up doing. Like, I could not think of a worse way, like, based on what I've heard about how this stuff works, I couldn't think of a worse option they could have gone with, which is extreme.
Helena Bonham Carter's in this movie. Damn, she's almost 60. Damn. I'm good for 60.
Zam, she's 60?
She's 58.
Oh. Close enough.
Helena Bonham Carter, you may know as Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter.
I do not know, actually. I haven't watched
she was
the movies
also,
that much.
She played the mom in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim Burton.
Yeah, I do not remember the last time I watched that at all.
She also was the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland.
I've definitely never seen that.
Have you watched anything?
What do you mean?
Also, by the way, I loved her in Big Fish. Big Fish is my favorite Tim Burton movie. Perfect.
I haven't even heard of that, so I haven't seen it.
What are you doing here? Go watch it.
That's a good question. I feel like you've just been giving me movie recs for half of this podcast episode.
I have been, because there's much better things you can spend your time doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Back to Les Mis.
Back to Les Mis, sorry.
I have a couple observations to make once we get to the part with, what's his name again? Marius, and Enjolras. I can't pronounce any of these French names.
Enjolras is
or the rebellion.
That nobody knows that. They never say it in the movie or the music because it's so hard to pronounce.
That's funny.
I do want to say about.
I do have some observations to make, but I don't have many observations to make before that point. So
I think Helena Bonham Carter is a good actress. Oh my god, who told her she could sing? Oh, she was in Fight Club. If you haven't seen Fight Club, I'm gonna come to Canada and beat your ass.
Like we were in Fight Club.
Have you seen Fight Club?
No, I haven't seen Fight Club.
Oh my god. Go watch Fight Club.
I have seen movies, just not the same movies. I promise.
She's fantastic in Fight Club. Fight Club's
fantastic. Who is she in Les Mis? Is she
she's she's Madame Thénardier.
I don't know who that
Thénardier.
Is that the woman with Sacha Baron Cohen's character?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
She is horrible at this, and I don't know why she was even allowed. She was not good in Sweeney Todd. And I say this as a fan. To be fair, Sweeney Todd, that movie sucks. Unrelated, that movie sucks. I also love how on everyone in the starring roles, the only person not to be a bad guy is Alan Rickman, who plays the evil rapist murderer in this movie.
That is so fucking funny.
Shout out to Alan Rickman. You got Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Sacha Baron Cohen. I don't know Timothy.
That is genuinely hilarious. Like, that's so funny.
By the way, go watch the original Sweeney Todd. I'm not talking to you on this one. I'm talking about the people at home. Go watch a recording of the Broadway. I will always say, never watch the movie of a musical adaptation. Watch the original musical. The two exceptions I'll give you is Chicago and Tick Tick Boom. You have no other excuses for the other ones. They're all on YouTube. You can look it up. You'll find some hidden gems.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Let's go on with Les Mis.
but yeah, then like I don't even care. I don't care enough of talking about Castle. I'm just gonna skip past. I'm just gonna skip to Stars because they put it in the wrong spot. So in the musical, 10 years have already passed. This is 1833.
I believe it's 1832.
33.
And maybe it's just in the live action movie or
They
the
changed
fucking
it in
live action movie. My bad. I mean, everything's live action.
No. It's 1832. It's 1832.
I was right. I will hold this over your head for the rest of your life.
I hate you. Sorry, I don't
it's
mean
mutual.
that.
It's mutual. Don't worry.
So
I hate you back.
After Look Down in the.
Nah, I'm kidding.
I want to talk about Look Down because I think the Look Down reprise, I guess, is. It's not the intro, but it's another song called Look Down. I think what's weird is so there is a scene added to one of the biggest problems I have with the musical, the establishing that Eponine is Thénardier's daughter as well as they could have. Like they do establish it, you do understand it, but at the same time, kind of not it. It's not. They could do a better job at clearing it. But in this movie, they added a scene where Eponine shows up. So Eponine is established from the beginning to be the Thénardier's kid. And then there's a scene where we're hand-fed. We are hand-fed information that Eponine recognizes because in the musical, they're force-feeding us information we should know. In the movie as well, Gavroche's scene and Look Down.
Like the fucking Mob Psycho flashbacks, the live action flashbacks.
I'm getting angry. This is angry. Where the hell is? He goes on this like whole ramble. He starts yapping about random bullshit. Basically, he's just like he's giving us the rundown. Here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. When in the musical doesn't care to explain it. They basically just tell us everything we need to know. The beggars suck. Like the beggars are just life sucks for them. And then like you get the revolution being like, yeah, where are the leaders who run this place? There's only one dude, Lamarck, speak for the people. If he dies, he's dying, won't last a week. And basically the revolution's go is once Lamarck dies. And it's so muddied in the movie because they don't even try. They don't even try to explain this in a coherent manner. They add Marius's grandfather, who was from the book. But, like, I don't think he was a necessary inclusion. You gotta understand about the musical, it's very tightly scripted. You can't just remove things or add things without having a reason. Just because the book, I don't give a shit about the book. That's not what I'm here to watch. I want to watch something good. I don't know why I'm coming to Tom Hooper, but here we are. But the song "Stars" is meant to happen after Javert finds Jean Valjean again, and this time because he's already escaped him twice, he's not going to have it happen a third time, and so he's like, "I'm dedicating myself. I'm really going to do it. This is like my last chance." In the movie, they add it before Look Down, which makes it so weird. It's such a weird addition. I don't get it. I don't.
I think that's
Also,
what you can say about so much of the movie. Like,
and then I'm gonna skip the entirety of Act because all these songs, like, I don't have anything fun. None of these are noteworthy. I'm not gonna.
I will say,
Gavroche is
empty chairs at empty tables was pretty good in the movie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That was the
yeah,
one
it
with Eddie
was.
Redmayne.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne. Shout out Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
He's my Asian of the century.
Yeah, famous Asian Eddie Redmayne.
I mean, look, if he can get credit as a trans woman, I think make him an Asian.
True.
Another Tom Hooper reference. the Danish woman. He was literally the
don't let
Danish woman.
Don't let Ollie London hear about this.
Ollie London is fuming right now.
True.
Ollie London's not even relevant anymore. Holy shit. I think that's the first time anyone has his name in years.
Yeah, he just kind of exists taking up like a very small like backspace in my mind, like a lot of other like conservative influencers who kind of fell off.
Matt Walsh.
Nah, bro, Matt Walsh. He had a banger movie. Didn't you hear? He broke records. Am I Racist made an Am I $1 million at the sales.
No.
That's so bizarre to think about. Like, why is that a movie that anyone pays to watch? Like,
it was at my local AMC that I just didn't watch. I didn't watch it.
Like, there are a few movies that I would tell you to watch Les Mis 2012 over. I am telling you, if it comes down to Les Mis 2012 or Am I Racist, Les Mis 2012.
Yeah, no, because I would rather give money to Tom Hooper than I would.
Yeah, I would rather give money to Tom Hooper than Matt Walsh.
I want to talk about a couple things about Act 2, even though Act 2 is... I'm not even going to talk about One Day More being ruined. I'm not going to talk about that, because I think Posey already... He already knows how I felt about that, considering I got violent when that happened.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad. We had to call in armed forces to restrain him.
And they still couldn't restrain me. Thug life, biatch.
True story. Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing about that is that so much of, like, the end of Act 1 was, like, badly paced, badly restructured for no good reason. Same with, like, the beginning of Act 2. Songs were swapped around. I don't really care to know the specifics of this, because, like, the movie is fading from my head, whereas the musical is just now the real version in my mind. So I don't even care to know the details, but they rearranged songs for terrible reasons, and it was jarring.
Now, in the musical, basically, the attack on Rue Plumet, basically, Thénardier is trying to kill Jean Valjean and Cosette. Eponine warns them so Marius can get the hell out of there, and basically, she is tasked with handing Cosette a letter about Marius going to the barricade. And On My Own begins. The One Day More happens, where basically everything's kind of set in motion. Everything's set in motion for the second act. Then On My Own, it's established in Act 2, Eponine, dressed as a guy, hands Valjean the letter. He goes to the barricade. Eponine follows. No, Eponine doesn't follow him. Eponine is able to sneak by, takes a bullet for Marius, and dies. In the movie, she goes to the barricades to save Marius, I guess, gets shot, and then Gavroche is able to sneak out of the barricade to give Valjean the letter and then come back. Why? Why was that needed?
I don't know.
I also don't like how the French army is presented. Now, in the musical, while there are glances of them, they don't get a lot of humanization to them. In fact, they're kind of seen as this big entity that nobody can cross, not even
almost like a force of nature, kind of, right? Like that sort of thing.
Not really, but more like a empire.
Yeah, in many ways, like that can be considered a force of nature. It's kind of like how Andor does it with like the Galactic Empire, where like they don't even fucking show Palpatine. They just show low-level bureaucrats and have him like be offhand mentioned a couple times, and it makes him feel so much more terrifying because he feels like this force of nature who's so impossibly above. You know what I'm saying?
But it feels like it's a bigger threat to our main characters. The most they ever say is, get down, get off of there. That's the only warning they give when they start shooting. And the way that Gavroche's death is handled in the musical are tragic. Because Gavroche ends up hopping the barricade to steal ammo. Well, he ends up getting shot and killed mercilessly. And it is one of the most harrowing scenes. And it was different from my production, but he successfully gets onto the top of the barricade, and a real musket shot is wrung out as he falls backwards. And the deafening silence in that room is something you will never experience again. It was horrifying. In the movie, they try humanizing the French army. Like they give the Gavroche a warning shot, and they give looks of sorrow when they see they shot a child. Well, that's part of the whole reason of Javert's arc.
You know what this reminds me of? There was a recent CNN article about like this IDF soldier who like had PTSD after fucking bulldozing like Palestinian civilians in Gaza. And they made like a whole article about how he has PTSD and feels like bad about it. And that's what this reminds me of. Like the whole like I understand that like every single person is obviously like human and has human emotions, and there are times when it's important to humanize people for the sake of understanding where like belief in like certain ideologies comes from. Something like that article is clearly obfuscating the very real harm, the genocide that is being perpetrated by these soldiers, and it's shifting the focus onto how they feel about it. And although this is a far less extreme example, I just kind of had a visceral reaction because that article made me so angry when I saw it. And I just kind of got like flashbacks to seeing it when you brought up the whole like humanizing the soldier thing. This is so much less extreme, but in the same sort of like ballpark. It just feels so counterproductive to the point of the musical and like the focus on the characters involved to like waste time humanizing these random soldiers, these random ass soldiers, instead of keeping the focus on the actual horror of the moment that someone just shot a child and didn't even think twice about it. That's the horror of the moment in the musical.
Yeah, because as it's stated by... Sorry if I'm on the floor. I'm trying to get my cat out of the car.
I understand.
Get her out. One of the key things about it is the fact that it's important to Javert's development of the character, because it's right after Valjean, this person he sees as a villain, just spared his life for nothing in return. He turns around and sees who he saw was the good guys, this infallible thing, murder a child he met and saw. That could have been him. He saw himself in that child that they murdered. And he doesn't know what to
it's
think.
not like none of the people on the side of the French government are humanized. Javert is, because he's a focal character. And we don't need to humanize the random soldiers. It takes away from the fact that he is understanding the horror of what's happening. And so are the people who are in the rebellion, because another thing about the rebellion is that this is one of the most interesting things I find about the musical. Although of course it's good to rebel against monarchy, I would like agree with like the surface level ideals of the rebellion in the musical. The problem is that they are very naive. They are very inexperienced with how the world works. They are horrible at organizing. And the main guy in charge of it is essentially someone who romanticizes the act of rebellion and ignores, like, the actual, like, fucking agony, the absolute struggle that is rebelling against a monarchical and imperial authority. And that's one of the major themes that I think is touched on in this part of the musical. And, like, it feels like that's kind of muddied in the movie because they actually do like show like aggrandizing moments for the rebellion in ways that I feel like they're counterintuitive to the point of how the rebellion is supposed to be portrayed. It's a tragic thing. Like, many of the people involved surely had like good intentions with what they were doing, and it's not there's nothing wrong with rebelling against the monarchy, obviously. It's just the way that they went about doing this was that they didn't really understand the implications. They didn't understand how horrifying it was to actually pick up guns and rise against an imperial authority. They didn't understand like the importance of organizing, of like building communities, of like actually having like a functional movement. They just decided, we're going to be awesome heroes who rise up against the oppressors, and we're going to show everyone how it's done. We're going to show them what we're made of. And then they all just fucking die. And that's the tragedy of it. Because they couldn't see past a very romanticized vision of like what revolution means. And that is so butchered in the movie. Like, this is the one thing I don't really care about most of the movie and what it does. This is the one thing I'm hyper focusing on because it feels so bad. Like, for one thing, the humanization of the soldiers is one thing that I find pisses me off because it takes away from like the portrayal of the Empire as something like so cold and uncaring, despite everything the rebellion is doing. It feels like they're taking them more seriously than they're supposed to be taken as a threat. I mean that the threat is taking the rebellion more seriously than they should. That they're actually engaging with what the rebellion believes, which I think takes away from the whole like point of the presentation in the musical, of course. That's one thing. The other thing is they have this big like epic scene where like the rebels just going like around the square and they have this awesome song, and it's like, am I supposed to look at this and actually cheer for them? Because I'm not supposed to in the musical. Like, I'm supposed to feel alarmed that they're rushing into this with no idea what they're doing. Like, they're scrappy college kids. They have no, like, respect to a lot of college kids, to be fair. Like, a lot of college kids have, like, have been doing some absolutely wonderful protesting lately. I shouldn't say that as, like, a pejorative, but in this case, they were, like, the type of college kid who has absolutely no idea what's going on, no idea what they're doing. They're just rushing into this conflict with no actual like long-term plan for anything, and it's supposed to be alarming and tragic, and they make it seem so heroic in the movie. Like, maybe if they did more to establish that this is like their psyche, then I would get it, but it doesn't feel like that. And that's in part because the movie is filmed like dog shit. The camera work is horrible. It's so hard to even tell what the intention of the filmmakers is. I'm sorry, I'm ranting on this specific point so much, but I hate the way that the rebellion is portrayed in the movie.
Right now, so you're good.
I despise it. I hate the way the rebellion is portrayed. Like, this is the one thing I laser focus on as far as this movie goes. Do you have anything to add to that point, or would you like to go on to something else?
I think it problem with it is a problem with the rest of the movie. It feels a lot less like they wanted to make an adaptation of the musical, but they wanted to make Oscar bait. And the reason I say that, consider this, right? Why do you think they kind of pushed a romance between Valjean and Valentine? They had no chemistry.
Oh yeah, that was fucking bizarre. I almost forgot that happened because it was so bad.
In the movie, well, that's because you got attractive male star, you know? Had a bit of tragedy.
I've actually been thinking of doing like a massive like video ranking like every 80s romance ever, because so much of this is the exact same thing. You have a conventionally attractive man, a conventionally attractive woman. Who cares if there's no chemistry or no reason whatsoever for them to actually be in a relationship? Trope demands it. You have some generic like conventionally attractive dude and woman. They gotta get together, even if it serves nothing for the plot. It happens in so many movies.
Got Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway. Some pretty big names. Sacha Baron Cohen, people love him. Carter, people love him.
How is Tom Hooper getting work in the year of our Lord 2024? That's the
I don't
main
think
question.
he will be. It's because I don't think he's going to. Cats, I think he's kind of done. Like, I don't think there's coming back.
Like, if he does make
yeah,
anything after that, it's gonna just completely bomb. I don't think anyone has confidence in him as a filmmaker, but regardless.
think about why they chose stars to be in this film. They weren't trying to make an actually good adaptation. They were trying to get the budget, because it was a $60 million $61 million budget.
No idea where the money went to. I'll be
It
honest.
went all to Hugh Jackman. It went to Hugh Jackman's biceps.
Probably Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, and all the other like big actors involved, and maybe some was spent on the score. The score was great. I'll say that. I really liked the instrumental, but it's kind of irrelevant to the quality of the movie overall. Like, I would listen to some of those bangers on my own, but that has nothing to do with the writing or the singing involved or anything.
Because if you notice, when Russell Crowe isn't singing, he's putting on a hell of a... And I don't blame Russell Crowe. I don't think he's a bad actor or even a bad singer. He has a band. He's been performing music for as long as the musical has existed in public consciousness. He's not a bad singer. The problem is, he is horribly miscast. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that they were trying to make this a blockbuster instead of just sitting it down. And they also got the worst director to do this, because I don't think Tom can direct. I just don't think he can. Obviously, you mentioned the cinematography, which was horrible. But
the camera work is actually nauseatingly bad in that movie.
It's
it's hard to explain.
It's like watching the first Thor movie.
Was
like
the
a Zack
camera work
Snyder action scene.
Was the camera work in the first Thor movie that especially bad? I don't remember that.
The Dutch angles were atrocious.
I mean, I know Kenneth Branagh also directed Artemis Fowl, which, I don't like the camera work or anything in that. That's a whole other bad adaptation to talk about. But
Kenneth Branagh also directed Death of the Nile. So
I don't know what that is.
He also apparently directed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which also starred Helena Bonham Carter.
Holy shit. It's all connected.
It's all connected. The deep state, the liberals.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Helena just Bonham literally Carter, how Hollywood works openly, and there's no secret about it. But it's all just one big conspiracy, guys. It's totally like some super shadowy cabal, and not just like literally everything we already know in public.
He dated Helena Bonham Carter for 5 years, so...
Damn. But yeah, anyway. Where were we in the movie itself? Are we planning to...
We're towards the end.
Okay, thank God.
I want to talk about just one... I'm mainly trying to...
This is genuinely nauseating to try and recount.
For you, maybe. But no, this musical just... This movie is not... The musical is fantastic. Go watch it. I would recommend that to anybody who likes music. It's a long story, but it is a good story. This movie did a terrible job, and it got in... I will say, as terrible as this movie is, I would not have it any other way. Because Les Mis led to him eventually making Cats and ruining his career. So ultimately, we won.
It's like fucking Doctor Strange and Endgame coming back after that 14 million shot in Infinity War. We just had to play the long game.
We had to play the long game, and some people may have died. Tony Stark may have been killed.
Tony Stark died so Tom Hooper could be defeated.
Tom Hooper really is just... He's just Thanos. All right, one more thing I guess to say about the movie before we could move on to the last one. This film is also really boring.
Yeah. See, this is the main thing that I've been meaning to say for a while. I've not really been sure when to fit it in. I hadn't seen the musical before I watched the movie. I should make this explicitly clear. Vex showed me the movie and then showed me the anniversary concert. So I saw the movie first. So you may think, sort of like how Vex thought that, I mean, he obviously acknowledged it was terrible, but he thought that Mob Psycho, like the live action adaptation, was kind of a fun time. He didn't have the emotional attachment to the original that I have. He didn't even see it, so he didn't know exactly what was being screwed up. I thought, naively, that maybe I would have a slightly more positive. I mean, I would say I did, but like slightly is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I would have like a substantially better opinion of a movie that I don't know destroys something I deeply care about. I thought that I would like maybe at least tolerate it on a basic level. No. No, it was just not a good movie. Like even without the fact that I hadn't seen the source material, the musical, I hadn't seen anything of it. It still just was a slog to get through. Mostly because of the nauseating filmmaking. The acting was not very good at all. The writing it felt out of place, even though I didn't know how it was out of place. Like the songs all being mixed up, the restructuring all happening. Like sometimes you can just intrinsically feel that things are wrong, even when you don't know exactly why. And I felt that while watching the movie, even without Vex's explanations. Things just felt fundamentally out of order. And it was a genuine slog to get through because the unnecessary added bits made the movie drag for so long. Like, more than was ever necessary. Ever at all. And that's really all I have to say. Like, it just was not a good movie in any stretch of the imagination. Like, I liked a few performances in it at times, and I liked, like, maybe one total song. Like, Empty Chairs with Empty Tables was a really good moment. And then I liked the instrumental, and that's it. Like, I can't say anything else that's positive about this movie. Oscars loved it for some reason. But then again, we did just go over how they were making an Oscar bait movie instead of like faithfully adapting the musical. But if I was an Oscars judge, I would have chewed out the other Oscars judges, and I would never have ever given this movie anything except maybe the score. The score was good. For some reason, they didn't win or get nominated for score. Like, one of the few actually good things about the movie, and they didn't get a nomination for it. They got nominations for sound mixing, which is so bizarre, because it was horrible. I'm sorry, I'm just ranting about the Oscars now, because, despite the last couple years of Oscars being, like, pretty solid, they're such a bizarre, like, organization with what they reward. It's...
I'm trying my best at the same time, like, but also I'm trying to get this cat out because I want to make sure she eats.
That's understandable. I feel like we're gonna have to cut out a lot of the idle segments in the final edit, but that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I wanted to say about literally it was just not good. This film is just not good. But it is still watchable. Bearable. Watchable. Now,
doing heavy lifting. I was becoming a bit Les Miserables watching that movie.
But there's one movie I think that is just objectively worse.
Yeah, objectively worse, and of course it's also a bad adaptation in my opinion that butchers the source material.
Love is War is that is the most disappointing thing since my son.
We're whipping out the fucking Technoblade reference for this one.
That's not a Technoblade reference.
Wait, was he using it as a reference?
It's a reference to Mr. Plinkett.
Oh, he must have been referencing that. No.
Have you never watched Mr. Plinkett?
I don't know what that means.
Mr. Plinkett, Red Letter Media, he mostly got popular because of his, I've watched those prequel videos 100 times over. They still make me laugh.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Red Leather Media. I don't really know who Mr. Plinkett specifically is, that's all.
He's a character who arranged. Like, he's
yeah, but
an old
anyway,
man who sunk the Titanic, is holding hookers hostage.
This is canon. This is just canon. Yeah, I guess to summarize Les Miserables, I'm definitely butchering that. It's Les Miserables, right?
Yeah.
to summarize, musical very good. The movie butchers a lot of songs, just completely restructures for no reason. It's kind of like how the live action Mob Psycho also moved things around for the detriment of the actual story and like the themes and everything. I went on a bit of a rant there about how the themes of the rebellion in Les Miserables were just massively kneecapped by the movie, but that's kind of like that's where like my biggest issue lies, I suppose. But yeah, the movie just kind of sucks all around that as well. I don't even think we need to grace it with like an actual like ending in our analysis. Like as I said, Empty Chairs and Empty Tables, or At Empty Tables, was a good song, and then I think everything else after that also sucked. Like Javert's death is so badly mishandled in the movie compared to how it is in the musical. Everything fucking sucks. I don't think we need to talk about this anymore. Would you like to move on?
Yeah, I was trying to do that.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to give some of my closing thoughts, that's all.
I don't have any closing thoughts. This movie dumb and gay.
True. It is actually kind of gay, though. Like, Javert, like, why were you spending so much of your life chasing another man? Like,
no, literally, that is an actual theory. That the leader...
He's quite obsessed.
Guy was... To be fair, he literally died holding his homie's hand.
For real. It's kind of fruity, But anyway...
I want to warn about this next one.
Oh, God.
I've never watched the original, and I have no memory of this film.
Vex, I want you to recount...
Half of it. Oh my God.
Let me explain. Let me just explain, like, the basic background for this. Because you went into lore on, Les Miserables. I think it's fair that I go into the backstory, although this one is a bit more simple. In the ancient year of 2015, a Japanese mangaka named Aka Akasaka debuted his novel, or not his novel, his manga, Kaguya-sama, or I think it's Kaguya Wants to Be Confessed To. I think that's the English name of the manga. Now, 4 years later in 2019, the studio A1 Pictures begins adapting that into an anime called Kaguya-sama, Love is War. The basic premise of the show being that there are these two lovebirds in high school, Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane, and they have like this whole thing where they dance around each other. But while most rom-coms would be like, oh, he's too good for me or she's too good for me, I can't possibly confess, it's all like a shame thing, they actually have a different hurdle. It's pride. They think that the other person should confess to them first to enhance their pride. They both think that they are too good for the other, but they're convinced that they are in love with each other and that someone is going to confess sooner or later, and they essentially play mind games, like literal like psychological like warfare on each other to try and get the other to confess first. And if this sounds like a hilarious premise, it is. And the show and I haven't read the manga, but I'm assuming it's mostly the same as the anime. And the anime is hilarious. It is like an actual riot. I think the English dub might be even funnier from what I've heard. I only watched the sub so far, but at some point I'll watch the dub. Point being, just absolute fantastic anime. It's genuine and heartfelt as well on top of that premise, and that's also kind of important. Like, you think you're just getting like a fun time, and then it hits you with like the actual character development, breaking down the psyches of these people. It does what I think a lot of romances kind of fail to do. It actually gives like interesting chemistry to the people involved and like explores why they actually like each other and why there would be a relationship on this basis. Which, I know that sounds like the bare minimum, but I was just talking about possibly doing a ranking of all 80s romances, because the amount of times they just pair the conventionally attractive dude and girl together, that kind of just makes me lower the bar so much. But yeah, the way Kaguya does it as an anime is just phenomenal, and I couldn't recommend it more. I couldn't recommend it more to anyone who wants to get into anime. You wouldn't believe how good it actually is. You especially wouldn't believe how good it is if your first exposure to this story was the live action movie that they released, I think, back in 2019 as well. about Kaguya-sama Love is War. They made a live action of it, and I didn't know this was a thing until like so recently. Like, it's very obscure. It's not on Netflix like Mob Psycho was. It's not on any major streaming platform. I had to watch this on a random ass piracy site, which is by far the most wasted use of piracy in human history, probably. I only did it because I needed to just see. I couldn't go to bed at night, like with Mob Psycho. I could not go to bed at night not knowing what they had done to ruin it. I had to see for myself. I had to get through it. And eventually I was planning on talking about it. So that was also a thing. So again, I needed Vex's help. I couldn't do it alone. So I called him up, and on August of this year, we sat down and we watched the live-action movie of Kaguya-sama Love is War. Remember what I said about... Okay, I'm gonna get into this later, actually. Vex, list off everything you remember from the movie. In point form.
Alright, I remember, because I was actually... It was unbearable. I remember I was playing Tetris while we were watching.
I think you were playing RDR2. See, the best way to summarize how...
I was playing Red Dead 2.
The best way to summarize how nauseating this movie was that, like, multiple times I said to Vex while watching this movie, I long for Subway Surfers gameplay and Family Guy funny moments in the background.
I was playing some modded Red Dead Redemption 2, and I don't know what you were doing.
I was watching with my full attention. I could not... I committed myself to this, Vex. Like, you have to understand.
I sat there, and I don't remember a thing. I do have, like, bits and pieces. I remember the penis joke or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't...
The most important part.
I don't even remember what the joke was. I genuinely don't remember. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, they wanted to go on a date, but took, like, 10 minutes to establish. I wish this was 2 hours, and I eventually left. I went to go say hi to my family, and then I brought some Chinese food home. The Chinese food was the best part about the day. I got a vegetable lo mein and an egg roll at the local spot.
You know what I will say about... Sorry, go on.
I think the most interesting thing I have to say about it is the meal. Because I remember more about going to get the food than I do anything about the movie.
It's so real, though. The best way to describe it, I will say this about the movie. I wish it had ads. I would not say that about anything but this movie. I wish it had ads so that I could be looking at something that wasn't it for a time. Like, at some point, Vex just paused to show off his vinyl collection, and I was so relieved that I had an excuse to take a break from watching that movie. So, where do I actually begin with how bad they mishandled this? So, for one thing, okay, just right off the bat, I'll say this. I don't know whose fault exactly this was. I assume the executives. I can't blame the director and the writers for everything here, because remember what I said about how Netflix Mob Psycho has the exact same episode count, because it covers the first season of the anime, the same, like, stretch of story as that. It has the exact same amount of episodes with the same length as that first season. So they don't have to condense anything. They could do the exact same thing as the anime, and it would be fine. Like, they wouldn't have any time constraints. With this, they had to condense, and this is actually kind of bizarre. I thought they would just condense the first season into a movie, which is already quite extreme, because it was, like, less than 2 hours. I think it was, like, an hour and a half-ish, which is, like, not a lot of runtime. That was covering the entirety of season 1, I thought, which is, I think, 12 episodes, maybe 13. I don't remember episode counts that well, especially. But that's 12, at least, 24-minute episodes. 24 times 12. That's a big number, okay? I dropped out of the math. I can't exactly do the calculations on the fly, but that's a big number. So it's definitely more than 90, I'll tell you that, which is the amount of minutes they had.
It's 120 minutes.
120? What, the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I was misreading that then. So that's still less than 12 times 24 though. Feel free to look that up, I guess. So they did have to condense a lot. So again, I thought it would only be the first season. They condensed like the first arc of season 2 into the same fucking movie. Bizarrely, I don't understand why they did this, because season 1 has a great stopping point for like the story, for it to pick back up again in season 2. The audacity to not even have that be the ending point of the movie, and just cram in stuff from the season 2 for like seemingly no reason. I just don't get it. I like, okay, where do I actually start with what goes wrong with this movie? So after I saw it, I watched a couple of videos of like other people in the fandom of the anime kind of like discussing the movie. I have seen people argue that it's not that bad, and I just strongly disagree with that. Like, one thing I will not criticize, although I did really not like the way that the camera work, I really did not like the camera work or like any of that stuff. I will not criticize that too much because according to these videos I watched, and I believe these people have more knowledge than I do on the subject, this sort of like filmmaking and camera work is common in Japanese media, and to a Japanese like watcher, like to a Japanese viewer, it would be a lot more palatable than someone who's unfamiliar with like how like the filmmaking works over there. So I will leave that out of this. Even though I didn't enjoy like the film making or the camera work, I will leave that completely out of this. I still think this movie is tremendously bad. If it had amazing camera work, I still probably wouldn't like it, because it butchers a massive portion of like what works in the actual anime. The mind games don't really have the same comedy to them. They don't even feel like they have the same weight to them, because the movie fast tracks like emotional moments and arcs so fast it's ridiculous, and does things completely out of order. I actually wrote up a whole list of things to Vex that were different in the movie from the anime, for seemingly no reason. I don't really know why they did it. I mean, I know they had to condense things, but they stretched certain parts of the anime beyond what they were in the anime while cutting out other crucial moments, and had things in the wrong order, which is not justifiable even if you have to condense things. Like, you have to, like, I don't understand why you would drag things out if you have less time. And let me actually get into the examples. Now, this might sound a bit silly. Like, you might not really understand this if you haven't seen the anime itself. I'm just gonna go back. Where is this? Where is my list? What the fuck is... Okay. I have a whole paragraph, like a message wall in Vex's DMs about the way this was poorly structured. So, for starters, the first mind game that we see in the movie and in the anime is a mind game where essentially Kaguya and Miyuki are trying to like goad themselves into buying the other a ticket for a romantic movie, because in their minds, buying the other a romantic movie ticket would essentially be like a date confession. So they just constantly undermine each other, trying to goad the other one into being the one to offer the ticket. This is eventually resolved because Chika Fujiwara, who's like the airheaded secretary in the student council, essentially misinterprets both of their social cues and simply suggests, okay, watch a different movie. I guess neither of you are into romance, which is why you're so hung up over this, even though it's because they're trying to goad each other into confessing. So she just gives them tickets for a movie that isn't a romance, and that battle kind of ends with a tie. Or like more of a draw, or like nothing really happens. So that's a good introduction in the anime to the way that these mind games work. You get a sense of their psyche, you get the basic premise spelled out for you, you understand the core traits of every character involved, you understand Chika, you understand the two lovebirds. Great, it's great. Good introduction. For some reason, For starters, the this is an 8-minute segment in the anime, by the way, because they have to cover multiple mind games in a single episode, and there's like I think 3 usually in each one, and this is only like 8 minutes long in a 24-minute episode. So keep that in mind. This is important. So 8 minutes of that, and then we get like the actual then we get the conclusion where Chica's like where Chica like suggests another movie. So that happens as it would in the anime. So then you would expect to go on to the next mind game, or maybe cut out some of them. Admittedly, that makes sense because they have such a limited runtime. Maybe go on to like a key like character moment, perhaps. But they don't do that. They drag out the ticket game to a 25-minute extended sequence of Kaguya and Miyuki going to the theater and like extending their mind game way past what is actually necessary for laying out the characters. Instead of doing like proper character work, I'm realizing this is a lot like what Les Miserables did, but like to a much more extreme degree. Because I don't actually think Les Miserables ever had a segment that was like dragging an 8-minute long musical segment into a 25-minute stretch. That did not happen, even as long as that movie fell. Did that ever happen? I don't remember.
Remember after Confrontation?
Okay, maybe it happened once or twice, but whatever. It's sort of the same problem here. So they drag out this ticket gag. I mean, they do have like a funny like kind of joke at one point in there, but it's not enough to justify the dragging out of this mind game so far beyond what it's actually meant to do to set up the characters. And you could be doing so much more with the runtime allotted, considering how short this movie is, how much it has to fit in. Like, I'm fine with cutting out some of the other supplementary mind games. That's fine, even though they're all really fun in the anime. I understand that. Why would you drag out an 8-minute long segment to a 25-minute long sequence for no reason, just for like one funny gag, instead of like actually doing like meaningful work to establish the characters? It's mind-boggling to me. So it doesn't end there. I'm still going to go on down this list. So after that whole extended sequence,
I am listening. I'm on my stomach trying to get this cat to come out.
I understand. Okay. After that 25-minute extended sequence, Miyuki is giving relationship advice to the one guy whose name is Tsubasa. This happens in both versions of the story. That's adapting one of the parts of episode 2. Reasonable enough, right? Now, Kaguya gives relationship advice to a girl, Kashiwagi, who Tsubasa eventually gets with. That's also in the same episode in the anime, right? Like, so the theme of the episode that's common is that they're trying to help these other people with relationship advice, although hilariously, they also need tons themselves because they're caught up in like their own thing. So that makes sense to have all in one episode, right? Just for pacing reasons and for the, keeping the episode premise in line. In a movie, it would also make sense to have these things be in the same area, because you're kind of like giving a specific idea in this part of the movie, right? Just for good pacing, it makes sense. But for some reason, in between Miyuki giving relationship advice to Tsubasa and Kaguya giving relationship advice to Kashiwagi, they skip to a major moment toward the end of season 1, which is when like Kaguya is sick and Miyuki has to come in and like speaks with her. And this happens midway through the relationship advice segments, I mean, even though they're supposed to be directly correlated. And that is supposed to happen so much later, like the sick moment is supposed to happen so much later in the story when you've actually gotten a sense of who these characters are beyond just like meaningless stretches of time that are spent on fuck all, right? So they pretty much, after that, they jump directly to the end of season 1 with the fireworks segment. There is simply no time spent in the movie really like building up these characters so that you understand who they are. I understand, again, that they had to cut back significantly, but they did not allot the time they had well in the slightest, with these bizarre pacing issues, these out-of-order scenes, just a complete lack of like actually setting up the characters in any way. And like, so again, they jump to the end of season 1 with the fireworks segment, which is when like Kaguya tries to get out of her manor because she's being cooped up by the rich family. And this is just so wonderful in its presentation in the anime. In the movie, it means it kind of just feels like white noise, to be honest. Like everything in this movie feels like. Of course, you have Hayasaka helping her out to escape. Kaguya eventually tries to see the fireworks because she wants some sort of like freedom. Like she doesn't like her lifestyle being cooped up in that house. She doesn't like that she's essentially treated more or less like she's like a captive of her own family. It's a classic trope. It's obviously the manga and the anime are inspired by the tale of the Princess Kaguya, which is why the character shares the same name. And I'm not too knowledgeable on that in specific, but yeah, you have a very compelling basis, but it's not set up at all in the movie because the time is allocated horribly, and it just feels meaningless. But then you have the part where like Miyuki finds Kaguya having missed the fireworks, and then they take her to see the later fireworks, and that's kind of the thing. And I'll admit, like, the fireworks segment could be like a cool musical. Like, that could be like a cool musical. Sorry, not a cool musical, a cool music video. Like, just a complete standalone music video of just, like, these people just, like, going and watching fireworks while, like, some triumphant music plays in the background. That could be a cool, like, little, like, 3-minute thing. But in the context of the movie, it means really nothing because we haven't, again, nothing has been set up. The characters haven't been, like, developed at all in any way that made me care about them. I basically saw these as completely different characters from the anime because the way that they're established and, like, developed is so different in that one set of them is developed and the other one is basically not developed. That's quite a difference. Another thing, I think this is later down in my text. Well, some of this is me reading directly off of the things I said to you in DMs. Yeah, I said something about how it's not earned that they go to that, like, the season 1 ending. Like, it doesn't feel earned because we haven't gotten development for anyone. We didn't see their personalities shine. Everything seems so, like, toned down in a weird way because they are trying to be, like, quirky and weird like the anime is. But like we've said before, that sort of stuff does not work as well in live action. In fact, this is one of the things that I think Vex does remember from the movie, one of the rare things. You remember the intro that was, like, so, like, bizarre with, like, all of those, like, cutouts, right?
Yeah.
They do that a lot, where, like,
I do.
Like, the visuals are kind of, like, super, like, weird, where they have, like, these, like, cutouts of, like, people dancing with, like, real, like, live-action heads plastered on top of them, and it just doesn't work the same. Like, there's a lot of unconventional animation and, like, quirky gags in the anime, but that works because the stylization works there because it is animated, and you can't get over that in live action unless you are really smart about it, or you specifically tone it down. Yet, despite the fact that they tried to be quirky, it still feels toned down because we don't get a sense of the characters' personalities. It feels like the movie is trying to have personality without giving anyone in it personality, is the best way I can put it. We didn't even see many of their psychological mind games, which is kind of undermining the whole premise of the show. Like, you have to cut out some things, I understand, I've said this a million times, but you still have to leave in some of the mind games, right? Like, I think they had maybe 2, maybe 3 in total. It was just bad. So, one thing that I think Vex said when we were watching the movie is that it seems like Miyuki and Kaguya have no life outside of each other. And that is because the movie adapted none of the scenes in the original story where they're shown on their own that help define their characters. I think this could have been a valuable use of time instead of extending the 8-minute-long mind game segment into the 25-minute-long extended mind game sequence. I think that could have been nice. They focused on the wrong things, butchered the pacing, extended the movie past the season 1 finale. I will reiterate that they chose to do this by also throwing in stuff from season 2, like the student council election arc. They also completely rewrote that arc and gave it an ending that is ridiculously juvenile compared to what happens in the show. On top of all this, I don't really know how to explain how it's juvenile without, like, directly going into spoilers, because I really don't want to. because it's so good in the anime, like everything else, and it's so butchered, it's so ham-fisted in the movie, and I can't, I just don't even want to talk about it. It makes me actually frustrated. If you rewatch the recording from my end, if I'm able to send it to you, like, you will see how genuinely upset I got at the end. On top of all this, like, all the other characters besides Miyuki and Kaguya are completely shafted and have no purpose in the story. Like, Chika and Ishigami are actual meaningful presences in the show, as they spice up the mind games and have plenty of development to offer. In the movie, they're just kind of there and do nothing. Same is true of Hayasaka. She does some stuff, but it's very minimal compared to the show. And the leads are neutered. The other characters are as good as non-existent. So we're summarizing now. The story is rushed and crammed to oblivion. Events are out of order, and close to nothing is actually done justice. For some reason, Ishigami, I should mention this, Ishigami is introduced halfway through the first season in Kaguya-sama Love is War, the anime. And it makes sense, because he's not needed in the introduction. His character is not important until midway through the first season. This is the same thing about how Claw does not have any relevance and does not need to be there in, like, the long first stretch of, like, Mob Psycho Season 1. Same point. You don't need to involve people before they have any reason to be in the story. This is like, at least Les Miserables didn't have the rebels be in the movie from the start. They would have been the exact equivalent of that. That's the kind of point I'm trying to prove. So, man, do I want to talk about the finale of the movie? It's basically where, like, they more or less confess to each other in, like, a very generic way that undermines, like, the actual, like, interesting writing that the anime has going on, and the manga. I guess I should mostly credit the manga, because they're working with what Akasaka wrote, but regardless, it's so undermined by, like, a very generic, like, almost pseudo-confession, where, like, on a technicality, they decide they haven't really confessed so that there's a justification for another movie happening, but, like, it feels like something out of a Lifetime or a Hallmark movie is a great way to put it. I don't really know how to get into specifics of how bad it is. Like, I really hated that ending, more than I even hated most of the movie, which was a lot. So I'm just going to go over this again. I know adapting the events of a show into a movie is not easy. Okay, I don't envy the position they were in for this. But they could have at the very least, stopped it at the season 1 finale and include more defining character moments with the proper build-up and fix the pacing issues. Like, that's the bare minimum here. They didn't even do that. It would still be so much worse than the anime, but it wouldn't be as incompetent as it clearly is. I think Netflix Psycho, like, I throw so much shit at that, but I do
awful,
think that was better. I think it was better organized than Kaguya-sama Love is War, the movie. And I really don't understand where people are coming from when they're saying it's not that bad. I really think it does a complete disservice to the source material in, like, almost every way you can imagine. Like, there are some things that are unavoidable because, yeah, you have to cram stuff, you have to remove things, and also the budget was not very high, I don't believe. So I understand the lack of, like, really good special effects. That's fine. I kind of do respect that they tried to stylize things in a weird, unconventional way. It didn't work for me, though. But still, the pacing was bizarre. The pacing was bizarre. The characters had, like, no depth behind them or development at all because the time and the pacing was not allocated properly. I just don't know what else to say. Like, this is the main reason why the movie sucks so fucking bad. There were
it's like
a couple
it's
points.
like Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? You can't really. There's no reason to why it's so bad. Just everything makes it bad.
I can't wait for James Gunn's live-action Kaguya-sama Love is War.
I meant not that one.
No. That's what I'm saying. I know that you mean the 2016 one. I'm just saying I can't wait for, like, in a few years, like 5 years later, there's just fucking James Gunn. There's just James Gunn comes along with, like, an inexplicable masterpiece adaptation. The Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Suicide Squad perfect.
I know it's not perfect, but it is still a really good, fun movie compared to the compared to the 2016 Suicide Squad. If you could at least make an adaptation of Kaguya-sama that's fun and really captures the essence of like what Kaguya-sama is, then yeah, okay, you got me. It doesn't have to be a literal perfect adaptation, especially if it's a movie. You can't really make it one. That's the big thing. I just think that this movie was a complete like failure in that regard, and it's just horrible to watch through. I know I sound mean, but you have to understand the state I was in emotionally watching this thing. It was
literally
nauseating.
You were just like that Killian Murphy.
Yeah, I was.
Killing himself.
That is exactly how I felt. Like, I wasn't able to guarantee to myself that I wouldn't run onto the street and be hit by an incoming car after the movie was done. Like, I couldn't promise myself that I wouldn't do that. It was bad. I'm kind of exaggerating on that last point, but like, still. Like, you understand what I'm getting at. It was horrific to sit through. And that's why Vex left midway through. I had to watch the end of the movie without him, just for context.
And I still don't remember a single thing we watched. I can remember things.
You're better off that way. You are better off that way. I'll just say
I got Men in Black like photo wiped.
I think there's no better way to like really like I'll say this. My least favorite movie before I watched Kaguya-sama Love is War was Artemis Fowl in Artemis Fowl 2020, which I watched in 2021. For 3 years, that was like the indisputable worst movie I've ever seen. Like, nothing topped that. Even when the MCU was constantly putting out like a bunch of stinkers, I mean, I didn't really enjoy like a great many of the films in that period. Even though I saw a lot of them because
still horrible. I don't care if you glazers into the comments.
I'll be honest.
And remember, if
Eternals is not good, I just like it for some reason.
It's awful. It's awful. That movie is like
not a good movie. Like, it's not good. I just like some of like the interesting like philosophical ideas that it kind of like has on the surface. The best way I describe it is that it made me imagine a better version of itself, and I really like that better version that exists in my head, and that kind of trickles down to me liking the movie that we got for some reason that I can't quite explain.
How they literally just waste TV shows on characters who probably don't need it, but the time that they like desperately need a TV series, they just...
Yeah, The Eternals could have been a great TV show, or it could have just been a better movie if it was better. That's a good... Like,
no, I think Disney screwed.
I think this is an executive thing, of course. Like, I don't want to say, like, Chloe Zhao, I feel like she's a good director. Like, she's well acclaimed. Like, I can't blame this on her. Yeah, but the movie before Eternals, as far as I'm aware, was pretty well acclaimed, so it's a decent track record there. Maybe I'll look into it another time, but yeah. Side tangent aside, like, Artemis Fowl, my least favorite movie. I think the worst movie I'd seen for a good 3 years. This came along, and I genuinely think this is worse than that. Like, I actually think this is worse. Like, if you guys want to argue with me, if you've seen, like, God help you if you have. If you've seen both Artemis Fowl 2020 and the live-action Kaguya-sama Love is War movie, feel free to argue with me in the comments. I probably will not read it, but if I don't, you might convince someone else. Maybe. I'm actually joking, because I do read all my comments, because I just don't have that many. Like, I have such a small audience. So, like, maybe I'll read the comment, maybe I'll try and see things from your point of view. I don't think there's a conceivable reality where I end up thinking this movie is good. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's awful. It is, and I do want to say...
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we're... I do think... I do want to talk about why these adaptations work. Because I feel like it is something we do need to talk about, is that really this is all made for money. And obviously, everything in the world, every single piece of art is made for money. That's
the plot twist there. It's capitalism. Who would have thought?
Literally, no.
The fucking Scooby-Doo villain of every week.
I do want to say, because I do think art shouldn't be. I want to say that it should be monetizable. You should be able to get paid, but I think that has corrupted in on itself because now industries see it more as less of expression than it is. Like, I think commercializing art is a bad idea.
Yeah,
And it's already too late.
monetizing
We've
is
already-
not the same as commercializing. There's a key distinction there,
Yeah,
I think.
but they see something that works and they're like, okay, let's try and make it better. But they're not inherently creative enough or good enough of creators who, because what they're doing is they're work, slapping their name on it and saying, this is my version. And usually they flood the top search results. Obviously, this didn't happen for Mob Psycho. Even
No, thank God, thank God. This is actually a really funny, like, side tangent I want to go on. Did you know that Eric Trump once thought that Mob, like, the character Mob, was, like, subtle leftist propaganda? Because he made a tweet once that showed, like, Bing versus Google search results when you type in the word Mob, and on the Google side, you got the character Mob from the anime, and on the Bing side, you just got, like, a mob of people. And he said, look at what Google gets you if you type this word. Look at how the leftists are infiltrating our search results. And it was
Eric.
Mob Psycho 100. That
Eric
has nothing
is
to
an
do
underrated
with
member of the Trump family.
it has
Because
nothing
he's
to do with
overshadowed
what
by
is
his dumber
specific.
brothers.
Like, it has nothing to do with, like, anything that they would typically associate with, like, woke culture. Besides, I guess, the philosophy espoused by Mob is pretty woke, to be fair. But, like, we know that that conservatives generally do not read into art at all, so they wouldn't care about that.
This may sound really stupid. I really don't like. That's a topic for another day. We can talk about our political views another. But I do believe that the reason so many of these are created is because it's popular. And what is, like, the most popular capitalist in states or countries in the world right now? It's America and Japan. They're centering the market around these remakes because they know they'll make some cheap bucks off of it. They don't care about art. They just wonder how much they can get by doing the least amount of work possible. It is that's why there's so many remakes being made. Now, sometimes people come along and they actually want to create a legitimate remake. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, I believe, is actually going to be a genuine attempt at an adaptation.
I think the same is true of, like, IP films as well.
Yeah,
like,
Guillermo
IP
del
films.
Toro.
I'll be fair. Like, a lot of IP films are still good, like, because a lot of the right people come along and they kind of, like, take over. And they're like, okay, well, the studio wants us to do this. How about we make it the best we can? Or maybe they're the ones who propose the ideas, and on, like, an extreme stroke of luck, the studio's like, yeah, we'll greenlight that. One example of an IP film that I think is fantastic that came out recently is Transformers 1. Kind of a cold take. Everyone loves that movie so far, for the most part. I really loved it, and I'm not even really a Transformers fan. My experience with watching Transformers is watching Age of Extinction, one of the Michael Bay ones, and not even one of the ones that are, like, supposedly, like, good in some ways, like, where Michael Bay actually at least cared about making, like, a fun movie. One of the later two ones that even he was miserable making. So, not a great viewing experience, but I was so young I don't even remember what was happening.
My best
memory from Age of Extinction.
Because I banged a trans dude once, and I think that was pretty cool.
True. I mean, the only thing I really remember from Age of Extinction was that some guy transformed a My Little Pony figurine into a gun. That's, like, a real thing that happened in the movie.
Bro, I need to check my jars.
And of course, Bumblebee. I also watched Bumblebee, and I actually genuinely really like that movie. I think it's a great movie, on top of being, like, a good Transformers movie. It has a very heartfelt story, and it really made me care about the characters. And the same is true of Transformers 1. So IP films, remakes, not always bad. Some new stuff that's meant to draw on old stuff is great. I liked Prey in 2022. I liked Alien Romulus this year. Like some of this stuff is actually legitimately good.
Well, but,
So-
but my argument mostly comes in
But yes,
why they are so
on the flip
afraid
side,
to deviate.
yeah.
It's because it's why do you think Disney knows what works, and they're just gonna keep repackaging it until they can't no more. That's just their business now. That's kind of, and obviously I don't, but like if you like go back to the 90s, like the golden age of animation, remember that shit? They were experimental. They were like the driving force of experimentation, especially in stuff like animation. Without Disney, animation would not be where it is today. That is an objective fact. However, because they are so rich and they have so much to their name, that everything's under Disney now. They don't gotta try anymore. And that is polluting. And them creating these soulless remakes trickles down. And obviously not all of these, obviously it's adaptations remakes, but it's the same principle. Hey, this musical that worked, this anime that worked, this worked for us. What we're going to do is we're just going to recreate it. Even if we don't really understand it, who cares? People who are going to watch it are going to watch it. We made our money. And especially considering just, yeah, it's a scummy business. Hollywood and the deep state. And this is
Oh yeah, the deep state.
This is a good time to plug.
Yeah.
This is a good time to plug. I'm running for president. The election is coming soon.
I think you can do it. I think
I've
you
not
can.
been-
I think you can sneak in there.
Me and my vice president Kanye, we have had a long, hard discussion about pornography, and then we thought about our policies, and we still haven't gotten anything yet. We're still waiting on Nick Fuentes to contact us. It's been like a year. You guys think he's gonna reach out?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, that whole like monologue about how like capitalism just like slowly erodes all of art and creativity, where we like really go into the nuance, and just imagine we cap it off with like, and also Jewish people are responsible for this, like something like that.
It's them damn Jews.
Of course. There's actually a
Across
John
the
Marco
border
Cerezi.
taking our job.
There's actually a John Marco Cerezi bit about how like people talk about how like Jewish people control Hollywood, and John Marco's like, if that was true, I'd be owed a thank you. Do you see what happens when Christians try making movies? Do you want more gods not dead?
Okay, look, hold on.
Like real though.
Look, honestly, I would rather have Jews running the country than I would Christians. I ain't gonna lie to you,
Obviously,
Chief.
any religious group that's not Christians.
It depends. I don't want a Scientology state. I think that would.
That's worse. Yeah, you're right.
But what
Tom
I'm saying
Cruise running
ultimately-
for president 2024.
Oh God, I know people who would vote for him too.
Nah, for real though. Yeah, we're kind of
I'm being
yeah.
serious. I have family members who would vote for Tom Cruise for president.
Yeah, but all of this like complete bullshit aside, like at this point we're just like trying to parody like right wingers, but the point being made is that yeah, the core reason behind all these adaptations is just capitalism, like the whole like profit model where like you're incentivized to keep recycling art over and over again for nostalgia, without really understanding what makes it great. Another good example of this would be like, I guess Star Wars currently. I haven't really been into much of Star Wars. I feel like it's just been kind of doing the nostalgia recycling thing, except for Andor. Andor was great. And some other things too, but I like the first two seasons of Mandalorian, I think, although Mandalorian season 2 kind of like leaned into this like nostalgia thing a lot, it was still like good. Season 1 of Mandalorian was just like plain good in my opinion. And then you have Andor a few years later. But, like, other than that, I really don't give a shit. Like, oh, yeah, Clone Wars Season 7 was also pretty good. But, like, other than that, I just don't really give a shit about much of, like, current Star Wars. And that's just the reality of it. Like, just these corporations just kind of, like, pumping out recycled stuff over and over again. And they lose the plot of, like, what makes art meaningful. You have Les Mis.
But...
They completely missed the point of that. That you have Mob Psycho. They missed all the emotional depth in that. You miss the emotional depth in Kaguya-sama Love is War, probably more embarrassingly than anything else, because what the actual hell was that movie? Again. And it's really just microcosms of a a bigger issue.
Yeah, I think what I want to talk about, how I want to end my section here, because I'm basically just gonna. I want to talk about this because I think it is very important, at least to me. I think that one of the biggest problems with adaptations is they know it's going to overshadow the original, and I think something about that is incredibly scummy. For example, Uncharted. Uncharted is one of the best PlayStation exclusives. Uncharted 2 is so fun. Uncharted 3 I absolutely love. Uncharted 1's really good. Uncharted 4 is not as good, but we're not who's keeping score. Uncharted, I really don't see a problem because I think there is. I mean, obviously, but it's just a fun game. But if I look up Uncharted right now on Google, the first thing that shows up is the film. Everything links to the film or the franchise when it really should just be going to the games. Are you telling me that in 5 years, people are still going to be wanting to watch the Uncharted movie? People still love the games. The last time they've had a game in the Uncharted series is 10 years now.
Do people even really talk about the movie though? Like that's the main thing for me. Like I've never heard someone talk about it.
And they're getting a sequel apparently.
I mean, like it's one of those movies where like a bunch of people presumably watch them, but no one really talks about them. Like a lot of those like generic like Netflix action movies, like Red Notice, for example. But like
there's a difference. That I don't want that to be Uncharted's legacy. Uncharted is
I understand.
A good story that isn't this. It isn't. What I have a big problem with when it comes to the Uncharted game series being adapted into a movie is that they don't understand. It's going back to what I was saying. They don't understand anything about what made Uncharted good. They didn't. It feels more like they played Uncharted 4 and like, okay, I kind of get this. When they didn't, it completely changes how the characters act, how the stories are told. Uncharted 1 had one of the most mind-boggling moments in any game I've ever played. And I'm going to spoil it, so prepare your jants. Uncharted 1 goes from a standard sort of Indiana Jones parody. It's kind of a parody. It's not like, full on. It's not like The Naked Gun. It's just, it's making fun of a lot of the tropes. However, halfway through, you enter a Nazi bunker and encounter zombies. I'm not kidding when I say I was confused. But it made me feel something. The Uncharted games make you feel something, even if it's not the most interesting of stories or it's not the most well written. It's very well written. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying more. The problem is you have moments that you just, if you don't adapt correctly or don't adapt at all, they're not going to have the same attachment to this series. I mean that. Because if you're trying to tell me that taking Frankensteining together a plot based off of the fourth entry in this series with a trilogy, the fourth game is the least connected of the main four. The fourth game is so disconnected in terms of, because 1 through 3 is a straight up story. 4 is kind of like it's kind of it's the Shrek Forever After of the Uncharted series. And it's good, but it shouldn't be the baseline for future adaptations.
In fairness, Shrek Forever After, I think that's better than Shrek the Third by a long shot.
Well, yeah, but my point mainly is in comparison. But if you look up Uncharted, the first thing that pops up is the movie. The games is just buried. You just access them, but you don't. That Assassin's Creed, another good example. I'm not a big fan of Assassin's Creed, but what I'm saying is you're not going to be like, they bury the original art. It's stuff, and
I think this is such an important point to raise because we're talking about. So I just want to draw a common through line between the adaptations we're talking about. If you look up the names of any of these properties, well, I mean, I'm sure for like Les Mis, it's maybe a bit of a difference, but for Netflix Mob Psycho, and for and also for Kaguya-sama Love is War, the live action movie, if you looked up the names of those anime, you would always get the actual like anime first before you get the adaptations, because those ones really floundered. And in terms of Les Mis, if you look it up, you might get the movie, but at the same time, Les Mis the musical is so instilled in cultural consciousness that I do not think the movie has been able to overshadow it, which means we're looking at 3 adaptations that failed to overshadow their source material. Like, I would argue. But that's not gonna happen with every single adaptation, regardless of whether or not it's good. So this is almost like a warning. Like, can you imagine if when people thought of these of these stories, like the absolute like the emotional depth, the beauty of stuff like Mob Psycho 100 or Love is War or Les Mis, like the original, like the musical, can you imagine, like, if everyone around you could only conceive of those things through the adaptations? Can you imagine if, I mean, Disney movies, can you imagine if Disney movies were always talked about in terms of their live action remakes instead of their animated classics, which I mean, I still think most people just talk about the animated ones, even though the live action ones are massive money earners. Like, can you imagine if that was the legacy of everything? Can you imagine if we had an Uncharted situation? Can you imagine if the movie was so, like, mind-bogglingly, like, popular that they just overshadowed the games entirely? Can you imagine what would happen? Like, this is why, like, I worry about this trend of adaptations. It's not just that they exist. I can ignore a bad adaptation sometimes. Like, at the end of the day, I can go on with my life knowing that they made a horribly, like, shitty Love is War live action movie that almost no one watched. Like, that has completely faded into non-existence to the point where I had to go on a piracy site to watch it, and I barely even knew it existed. And there were, like, 2 YouTube videos that talked about this movie with, like, 5-figure views at best. So, I just want to say, like, I can go on with my life knowing that this thing just kind of exists, but it's not overshadowing the story that I love. I don't want anyone to ever have to face the reality of, like, a fate where, like, they have a story that they love and they feel like an adaptation that hasn't given it the love it deserves has overshadowed it in the memory of people. Like, that's such a horrifying thought to me. It's almost, like, existentially dreadful. And I know that it sounds like, I understand that some people would hear me saying this and being like, it's not that deep, but I actually think it is that deep. Like, art is a very meaningful thing, and it's important that, like, the respect be placed on art, and the adaptations really get things right, because adaptations can be great. They can do a lot of amazing things. Remember that Les Mis the musical is itself an adaptation, and it does so many great things with the source material. So I'm not against adaptations, but, like, people need to care about what they're making, and if we let people who don't care continue to make adaptations, and we allow them to overshadow art that is made with passion, then I feel like we're in for a shitty time for people who really care about stories, because, like, how long until your story gets overshadowed by a complete hollow shell of itself? Like, at some point, a corporation could just get away with doing that, and they would rake in so much money from brand recognition alone. And, I mean, who knows what will happen? Like, right now, like, compared to 100 years from now, like, what will be remembered of all of these franchises? And I think that's the important question we have to ask ourselves. And I think that people need to really have respect for, like, the arts, and have respect for, like, not just source material, but adaptations that care. We need to elevate adaptations that care, and forget about the ones that don't. And I think that's just... I think I've been rambling on a bit, but I think that's really, like, the long and short of it. That's my closing words on the subject.
I guess what I will say... one last thing. I was going to say something. I completely... was I gonna... Oh yeah, I do want to make a video at least, or make a maybe even a podcast episode about musical to movie adaptations specifically, because yeah, I'm mainly just the fear I have is art being overshadowed and deleted entirely. I am all for preservation. That's why I support the Internet Archive. That's why, even though I joke about things like the burning of the Library of Alexandria, that is a serious detriment to everything that was written in that fire, or in that library. Not in the fire, duh. But the ultimate thing is, you shouldn't... Let me restart real quick. I think
Some
one of
editing
the
work will
things
be
to
necessary
preserve
here.
art, to preserve art, is to just re-release it. Seriously, I'm being dead honest. Instead of making a remake, sit for a second. Sit with yourself. What if we just re-released it in theaters?
Yeah, unless you
Literally, it's
have
as
something
simple as
else, unless you have something that you can actually do to elevate the source material, then yeah, just
don't
re-release
even
it.
try. Like, don't even try unless you have that. Because I think that... Here, let me just look up something very simple.
I appreciate this because
Remakes
you're actually giving a solution to this issue besides just care about
that
art
are
more.
better than the original. Like, okay, The Thing. You know, you've seen The Thing.
I
Pretty damn
have.
good film, right?
Yeah, it's
Dune
great.
is an adaptation or a remake. It's pretty damn
Yeah,
good.
I did enjoy the Dune movies for sure.
You got Scarface, got Cape Fear, West Side Story, which I've heard is pretty good. I've not seen the remake or the original. I think, yeah, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That was a remake, and it was really good. What I'm saying is, unless you have something that makes... I don't know how you would be able to find something that makes usually art better. You gotta at least put your own spin on it that isn't totally ridiculous. But if you're going to adapt something, rather adapt it faithfully, offer something good and new to the table, and or just re-release it. Just don't worry about it. It's same with like restoration and colorization of film. Like people trying to bring color to Night of the Living Dead. They've been doing that for 20 years, and it's like, I think part of the reason that movie works is it is untouched. It is amateur. And actively trying to modernize it simultaneously gets rid of that style.
It kind of reminds me of how like George Lucas would go back and change like his original Star Wars movies to like add in all of that like extra CGI stuff. And some of the special edition changes are like good, but at the same time, like he very much buried the original versions under all of the edits he made. And there's a really good, I mean, if you want like a massive, massive breakdown on this and like a bunch of other stuff with Star Wars, shout out a specific video on this podcast. The YouTuber Jesse Gender has a video called The Monomyth of Star Wars, something of the sort. It's a massive, massive video, like 5 hours long or something like that. And it came out around, I think, December of last year. And it is a phenomenal, like, video about like the like mythology of Star Wars and like its place in public consciousness, and I would recommend it wholeheartedly for this topic. I think now that we're on like this general subject, I don't think I could go the episode without recommending it because it's just that good. But anyway, yeah, I understand the point you're making. I think it's important to preserve art in the state that it existed instead of like changing it up all the time. And if you do have something to change, make sure it's a good change that actually adds value, and make sure it exists independently of the original as well, so that people can always go back to the original. So in conclusion, bring back Minecraft story mode. I'm so fucking serious. Please put Minecraft story mode back so that it's playable or something, or put it on Netflix again. I beg you. Please, Mojang, please, Telltale, do something about it. I'm begging you. Is there anything else we should say here?
Shout out to Walt Disney, my agent of the century.
Absolutely phenomenal. Perfect way to end the podcast episode.
With me literally about to get canceled. Anyway, I have to go eat dinner now. So
I also have to go eat dinner. Well, I have to take a shower first, but after that. All right, bye.
Deuces.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much, and I'm going to plan on having more episodes in the future. So with that said, see you next time.